Rochelmi, Nelson Panciatici, Bentley. Charles Weerts relieved Dries Vanthoor, and then the race-leading Mercedes hit problems. Timo Bogoslawski limped to the pit lane with alternator problems, putting the number 1 6-3 Lamborghini into a lead it was never to lose. Off the road went Louis Machiels in Pro-Am. He dragged the Ferrari out of the gravel, but facing the wrong way, as Seidler and Costa took the win ahead of Alex Fontana and Riccardo Fella. Also in the Emil Frey Racing Lamborghini squad, who had won Saturday's race. It was the perfect weekend for the Swiss team. 2 races, 2 wins for Emil Frey Racing at Zandvoort. At Misano this weekend, it looks as though it could well be an Audi circuit. Charles Weerts, fastest in qualifying for race 1, and he always goes well round here.
Of course, we have a good position now. We had a good test, and we know that Misano is a track that suits us well. So hopefully we can score big points. Competition is running quite high this year, as each year it's getting more and more difficult to win. But we are quite determined to keep our championship, and yeah, we will fight until the end. And yeah, we'll try to score as much points as we can.
There's been a bit more shuffling in the Audi ranks as well this weekend. Joseph Vega stands down. Into number 66 comes Fabien Laverne.
The track is really nice. There is, good speed corners, and you can push a lot. So you just try to find the balance between stay within the track limits, obviously, but it's a nice track.
It's been a rather frustrating start to the season for Raffaele Marciello, and a win certainly went begging at Zandvoort. Those mechanical problems costing them victory. He needs a big haul of points from Misano this weekend.
I don't think it's easy as last year, let's say. Audi looks quite strong. Car number 32, even Santelog. We saw this morning they were quite strong. Then tomorrow when it's qualifying 9 o'clock, so it will be a bit cooler.
Pro-Am had a new winner at Zandvoort last time out, the SPS Automotive Performance Mercedes. Dominic Baumann and Valentin Pierberg, the drivers.
I really like the way the circuit is set. It's quite technical in some parts, but on the other hand, it's also got some very fast corners. Again, where you really have to believe and trust into the car and into the setup. And I think we found a really good setup here. And again, I think we're going to perform really well, hopefully.
Funny things happened in Holland. The number 52 Ferrari was seen pointing in the wrong direction on occasions. It was a tough weekend for Louis Machiels and for Andrea Bertolini.
I like Misano because it's technical. The only point is it's not quite easy to overtake other cars, also if they are a bit slower. So it will be important to have a good qualifying session to start in front of your competitor, like in the Pro-Am class. But yeah, it's a big challenge, but every race of a GT World Challenge on the Sprint Series is challenge, so it doesn't matter where you are.
Riccardo Fella took an outright win in race 1 at Zandvoort. He's also heading the Silver Cup. This is a really strong season for Emil Frey Racing.
I think we have 3 strong lineups in sprint and also in endurance. We are the silver car in the team. At the moment we are the first one in the championship, so I like it.
Rinaldi Racing was out of luck in Holland with its Ferrari, but Benjahaitis feels that the car has turned a corner this weekend.
The car is feeling really good. We improved a lot from yesterday to today. The car feels really balanced and really comfortable for the race. We hope that we gain a little bit more in the qualifying pace, so yeah, pretty confident.
Another of the very fast Ferraris is the Sky Tempesta Racing entry. It runs in the Silver Cup. Chris Froggatt and Giorgio Roda, the drivers. For Giorgio, he is relishing the chance to drive this car around the Misano circuit and use all available real estate.
I really like the circuit because, there are really low curves that you can really cut in, and now they put a yellow banana in the outside, so we cannot cut and go really over them because otherwise we're going to damage the car, so we don't want that. But on the inside we can really gain a bit of time with cutting. So here I think it's a big cue and difference with the curb, because it's a motorcycle circuit. So for us, with the GT cars, we really cut them, and I also think that Ferrari is really competitive here compared to other tracks.
The CMR Bentleys have been perhaps the real revelation of the season. Both really competitive, really quick. And in number 107, Ulysse de Pauw and his co-driver Pierre-Alexandre Jean have looked mighty impressive. And the Bentley seems to be well suited to Misano on the evidence of the weekend thus far, especially in Pierre-Alexandre Jean's hands.
Yeah, I love this track. It's quite a fast track. The first sector is quite slow, so quite hard in terms of driving. You need to push the braking, have some good speed in the corners. I love also the fast part of the track over there. So yeah, globally I love this track. We have to work on the car to be more efficient, but we'll have a good weekend.
Don't forget the global nature of GT3 racing. The Fanatec GT World Challenge, powered by AWS, brings all the brands together, not just in Europe, but in Australia, in America as well. And you take the points scored across the globe, and right now it is Mercedes-AMG which heads the Fanatec GT World Challenge, powered by AWS, chased by Lamborghini, with Audi a very strong third. It is nearly time to go racing. Welcome everybody to Misano in the sunshine for race one of the weekend. The grid is formed based on the time set in qualifying this morning. The important part of which to make the point of is that the pole position set by Charles Weerts gives him and Dries Vanthoor a point, and that now moves them into the lead of the championship. They were half a point back, they're now half a point ahead. 1 hour of racing, pit window between 25 and 35 minutes. The car's now released with Charles Weerts starting on pole position. Leo Roussel's best qualifying of the season puts him on the outside of the front row of the grid, ahead of Albert Costa, who's feeling a bit fluey and under the weather, and the ever-impressive Ulysse de Pauw, who was taken to GT3 cars like a duck to water. Aurélien Panis starts 5th. Jim Pla lines up 6th on the grid, ahead of Luca Stoltz and Timur Boguslavski, both of them hoping for better results than they had in Holland. Rick Brokers is 9th and Oscar Turnho 10th. 11th is where you find Alex Fontana, and Ollie Wilkinson in the returning Jota McLaren comes next, ahead of Nelson Panciatici and then Benji Highties. On the next row of the grid, row 8, you've got Frank Bird lining up alongside Tuomas Tuijala, ahead of Adrian Delina, and alongside him is Benji Goethe. Starting on row 10, Alex Arca and Jordan Love, ahead of Consta Lapalainen and Fabien Laverne. On the 12th row, Petru Oberescu lines up alongside Finlay Hutchison, ahead of Louis Machiels and newcomer Julien Apodostos in the Team Allied Racing Porsche. Then on the penultimate row, there's Valentin Pierberg and Miguel Ramos, ahead of Giorgio Roda and Alexander West. That is a great grid, 30 cars, as the field then gets ready to accelerate up towards the start of the race then, with there on the front row the two Audis, Charles Weerts and Leo Roussel side by side. It is WRT for number 32, it is Santalot for the blue and white car alongside of Leo Roussel, same brand, different teams. Then as the lights go green and we go racing, good start is made, look, from further back on the grid by the Mercedes of Timur Boguslavski, trying to find his way through the traffic. He's all over the curb on the outside line as they dive into turn 1, and there's a little bit of jostling in the middle of the pack involving Aurélien Panis there. They've got cars off the road, look, having to shortcut the turn 1, 2, 3 sequence rather than get themselves in strife, and out of all of that, Charles Weerts leads the way, but up into second place has come Albert Costa, and then in third, as they work their way up for the first time through turns 4 and 5, it is Leo Roussel, who's dropped back then from the start of the race.
Well, it's been a bit messy through 1, 2 and 3, and on the exit of 4 likewise you can see the McLaren getting all off track. Oh, up in there the Porsche ran over those yellow curbs, kicked the back of the car up, must have damaged the rear end of the car. Wow, that's the exit of turn 6 we were talking about. There is turn 8, you can run wide there, but Albert Costa, as always, combative at the start of a race, trying to make a move on Charles Weerts, but having to be patient. He doesn't know what the word means.
He doesn't, and it's great to watch as long as he's the right side of the line, isn't he? Looking back again for the Bentley. Ulysse de Pauw got mugged, didn't he, at the start? He's dropped back, looking at the Benji Highties Ferrari. So Charles Weerts leads the way, but he's under huge pressure from Albert Costa right with him as they head towards the end of lap 1 there. Number 14, look to the outside line, Alex Fontana. Really fast part of the circuit. This, hanging everything on the line. Up now towards turns 14, 15 for the first time, wriggling their way towards the end of lap 1. So Charles Weerts leads, but he's under huge pressure from Albert Costa. Look, bouncing all over the curb. Albert Costa, we were told just before the start of the race, not feeling 100%. Well, you wouldn't think it, would you? Look at the way he's going.
Maybe that's the way to finish this race. Finish ahead of the field, get the job done, and then you've got time.
Get your stint done quickly, pit early, having got into the lead. Look at this in the mid-pack, 3, almost 4 wide, down towards turn 1. And a really brave effort is made there by 114. Consta Lapalainen in the car he shares with Jack Aitken. So Lapalainen trying to gain ground, and he's done so at the expense of Jordan Love, the Australian, as Finlay Hutchison in the white Audi comes up to have a go. Rick Brokers to the inside of him in the Mad Panda Mercedes, and that's Tuula being given a rough ride by Fabien Laverne. Bit of hit in the shoulder, and the Aston Martin came off worse, John.
Yes, there's not an awful lot of space left for this, especially if you're 3 abreast. Coming up into turns 4 and 5, that sequence, one follows the other. Then you've got this brief straight out of turn 6, all the way down the curve of 7, then turn into turn 8. Now, is that a driver error? Has he been shoved off? But that may well see full Courcelles. In the meantime, it's Leo Roussel, who, but these 3 lead cars, right now is the one I'm thinking he can sit back and watch the fight going on for first or second place without getting involved, because if those 2 cars get too close together, neither will concede. Roussel could be in the pound seat.
He could be, but the danger, I suppose, for him is he gets stuck, and that's got stuck as well. That's Valentin Pierberg in the gravel as well. And there you go, 2 of them at the same part of the racetrack. I'll finish my point in a moment about Leo Roussel as you see Conte Lapalainen go through. I was going to suggest that Roussel, if he can't make progress, will be caught by Lucas Stolz. Fabien Laverne, they're getting roughed up, going out wide, and that just opens the floodgates, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you get contact coming down the curve, turn 7 into turn 8. There was, I don't know, there was bodywork rubbing in a tyre or not, and everybody's slowed right down now. We're not seeing it on screen. There is a full Courcelles that has been put into place. Everybody's got to slow down to 80 kilometers per hour around the racetrack to be able to get those 2 cars, the Mercedes and the Ferrari, removed safely from the gravel traps. Well, there we see the 93 Ferrari getting tagged. The Porsche coming out of turn 6 was pushed out wide and went over the yellow, those sort of donut type curves. The back end of the car flicked up in the air. The nose was almost vertical to the ground. And I mentioned that probably there's rear end damage, certainly to the gearbox, if not the engine.
Safety car, lights off.
Lights off on the safety car. It will make its way now up towards the exit of turn 15. And when he's ready to go, Charles Weerts will floor the throttle, try to get the jump on Albert Costa now, and he's gone. And indeed, he's managed to steal a lane.
Green flag.
Green flag wave, then we're racing once more at Misano, and Charles Weerts is the race leader. And as he comes across the line, what advantage has he managed to get over Albert Costa on that restart? It is 0.4 of a second, with Leo Roussel still there in 3rd place, and a dive to the inside against Frank Bird by Timur Boguslavski in the Mercedes. This is Boguslavski's view, but he couldn't gain the place, John.
No, but just going back to the start, that was a smart move by Charles Weerts. He got on the throttle hard as he went into turn 14, then through 15, and gained an advantage. That 0.4 of a second might not seem an awful lot, but it was crucial that Charles Weerts got into turns 1, 2 and 3 ahead of the 163 Lamborghini, because otherwise Albert Costa would have been all over him.
So looking back from the Bentley, Elise de Pauw still mired down in 12th place. That is Benja Heites in the Ferrari behind him, the Rinaldi racing car that was out of luck in race 1 at Zandvoort, going better here. Behind Heites is Panciatici in the other Bentley, so that Ferrari sandwiched between the Bentleys right now and unable to find a way by. Now, Leo Roussel has just done an absolute best in the first sector. He's closing back onto the tail of the race leaders. And look at the speed being built up by the Bentley, and look at him get away from the Ferrari.
Yeah, I mean, you're sitting back in the Ferrari, you're pushing your foot through the firewall, you can do nothing. The Bentley, we've seen it in the last 3 races, just powers away on the long, fast parts of the racetrack. And what do? You've just got to be patient, think about it, work it out, just as Albert Costa's doing. What can I do with the Audi? The Audi has been the dominant brand so far here this weekend in all the testing, the practicing and the qualifying. But look, how close can he get into turn 1? Against for Leo Roussel having to defend, but Lucas Stolz trying to go up the inside, forces the issue. And also watch Jim Pla, he's going to try and get a bit of the action as Roussel had to compromise his exit coming out of turn 3.
And Pla goes to the inside here, look, coming up towards turns 4 and 5, can't do it there. Aurelien Panis is right with them, out wide goes Roussel, and Panis gains 2 places. Brilliant opportunistic move. Jim Pla gets 1 of them at least, and down 2 falls Leo Roussel. You could see that coming, couldn't you, as he was just on the wrong line for turn 4.
Yeah, it all began really going into turn 1. What dived on the inside, the McLaren trying to make its move. All began in the entry to turn 1, and it all played out through 2, 3 and all the way up into turn 4. But the big winner, as you point out, was Aurelien Panis, who was sitting back in the armchair having a great view. But look at the congestion, the traffic going up into turn 10. 2 Bentleys, nose to tail, Lamborghini in the outside. Can it stick around the outside, the 114? I must say, this is good motor racing.
It is absolutely good motor racing, and Albert Costa has done another absolute best middle sector time to try to close on that man that leads, Charles Weerts. Look at the way the top two have escaped now, but Lukas Stolz third is going to be on a mission to try to bring that Mercedes that had a win at Magny-Cours back into the mix. But at the end of this lap, the pit window will be open. Now, are we going to see Albert Costa bail if he's not feeling very well, and as quick as possible get Norbert Siedler into that car? There's Benji Heites in the Rinaldi Ferrari, who's managed to get himself up the order, clear the Bentleys, and yes, there's my answer. Norbert Siedler is ready. So expect the second place car, John, to be first in. As to the pit lane, dives Albert Costa as predicted, so the Lamborghini is in. It gets him out of the race, it gets him out of the traffic as well, and it also puts Lukas Stolz into second place.
Yeah, that for Lukas Stolz is even better, because all he has to do now is just laser himself in to the rear of Charles Weerts. No easy task, but the progress that Lukas Stolz has been making, currently 2.6 seconds as they came across at the end of lap 14. So let's keep an eye and see up until the point where both will be forced in to make their respective driver changes. But in fact, both two Lamborghinis have come, in the case of Albert Costa, handing over to Norbert Siedler. That is an important pit stop. It's a very early pit stop and putting a lot of responsibility in the hands of Norbert Siedler. Come on, get the car rolling. Oh, what's the problem? Is stop, go. Was that bad information? And that has cost them loads and loads of time.
And there is the race leader briefly off the road, ever so slightly wide there was Weerts.
Yes, he was, and he's in the pit lane as well, so he has given up the lead, as has second place Mercedes. So the lead is now, assuming he doesn't come into the pit stop, is going to go to Jim Pla in what was third place.
So remember, the pit stops are for a driver change and the change of tyres that has to be done by only two mechanics. And WRT are virtually at pit out, so as soon as Dries Van Voor accelerates away, he's straight up to speed. Charles Weerts that has to do the crawl down the full pit lane. Tyre change goes on for both the Audi and the Mercedes, John. How about this? As you see the Audis there, trading places, 26 versus 25 at Santerlock. It is now Christopher Haase in 25, but in 26 is Fred Vervisch, and Vervisch goes ahead. But for the three leading cars, how about this? Norbert Siedler's pit stop, which we saw was a confused one, 1 minute 16.3 seconds. Lukas Stolz, 1 minute 7.4. Weerts to Vanthor, 1 minute 2.3 seconds. Much, much quicker than the two cars he was fighting with earlier on for the lead. And a 1 minute 16 pit stop for Norbert Siedler is a disaster. So the engine fires up, the car goes and stops, and then it has to fire up again. That's not 14 seconds worth, it's a chunk, but there's something else that's gone wrong there.
In the meantime, Dries Van Voor, currently in 7th place, but ultimately will be our race leader, has just set fastest sector time in sector 3. And one would assume that the gap between first and second, which is now Maro Engel in real time, is up to 8.4 seconds. That's a massive amount of time. Dries Van Voor has almost had the gift horse and didn't have to look it in the mouth to get what he's got.
I understand from Gemma Scott in the pit lane that one of the reasons that time was lost and why the lollipop had to come back down was there was another car that we couldn't see coming down the pit lane. So they had to wait for the traffic to go by. So that in part explains where a lot of the time went, but even so, it wasn't that quick a stop, allowing for that. Now, let's just get back to this battle. Konstantin Terashenko is under attack from Ben Barnicoat in the McLaren, who comes up to the outside line. Is he going to be able to drive all the way around the outside of the Mercedes? No, he's not, and the door is open. Rochiro Tomita tries to get up on the inside line as well. Look, they're in the WRT Audi. Fantastic racing. Ben Barnicoat on the outside line. Ben, a big fan of and an occasional race winner in Briscoe Formula 1 stock cars, needs to get his elbows out here, otherwise he's going to lose ground. At 88, Raffaele Marchiello is another man on the mission, John.
Yes, indeed. So that was very nip and tuck. But Barnicoat's got the inside line into turn 8, and he can consolidate. He can allow the McLaren to sweep out and force the Audi to back out of it. But watch Raffaele Marchiello. He is the driver of this quartet of cars that always finds a space. If he doesn't find it, he makes it. Up the inside, wow, bit of hip and shoulder there from the Lamborghini, and that is Ricardo Feller. And he didn't really offer up any alternatives. He said, I'm coming through. Oh, contact, and that's what happened. So the Bentley and the Aston getting together in turn 16.
So 107 Bentley is in the gravel. Pierre-Alexandre Jean being tagged into that. We saw the Aston Martin rejoin, but it is off again, probably with left front damage there, because the car does not want to turn. And so the Aston is trying to get out of the gravel, but if the Bentley is stuck in the gravel at turn
Full
16...
course yellow in 20 seconds. Safety car, lights off.
As we go aboard with Dries van Thor coming through turn 14 now. When is he going to go? When's he going to go? When are you going to go?
Green flag, green flag.
And he's gone.
Well, he had to wait
away.
for the information.
You could see him, couldn't you, on that onboard shot, looking in his mirror, looking to see where Engel was, what Engel was up to, and even a quick weave there, look, down the pit straight. Is that on?
And when he's doing it simply to keep the tyre, get the tyre up to working temperature. Oh, McLaren, big challenge came, and that was something that, Ben Barnicoat, I didn't think anticipated, but that's what you have to do in the opening laps. Was that contact as the 88 Mercedes swung right across the front of Ricardo Feller.
So Feller is trying to find his way through traffic. Norbert Siedler, I think, is the one losing out there, isn't he? Because Siedler goes wide, and the 163 Lamborghini in danger of losing places. All the Emil Frey cars are stacked up together.
Incident between car 159 and 107 in turn 16 under investigation.
Which is the one that brought out the safety car. Right, look at this. Verviche versus Hasse, the two Audis absolutely side by side for third place, but Fred Verviche just hangs on to the position, or does he?
Well, he's got the position right now. It's who comes off turn 10 quickest, but Christopher Hasse's on the inside coming down the straight. Fred Verviche moving over to the middle of the racetrack. Can he consolidate? No. Good effort by Christopher Hasse. Did a great job. He did all those hard yards going into turn 9 and then in the exit of turn 10 and has made up a position. Good racing between the two Audi drivers.
Right, what about Raffaele Marciello? He's up into 7th after Norbert Siedler ran out wide and lost ground. So Marciello with a massive bite of curb there. Tries to get past his teammate Konstantin Terashenko. Couldn't do it coming out of 8 up towards 9. Goes for the outside. He's not going to go all the way around the outside, surely. Well, he's going to try. Can he get the cut back to the inside line coming off the corner? Go for it, Raffaele. There's the gap on the inside. The two ACA ASP Mercedes are side by side. Marciello has got the inside for the next right-hander, and he's got the job done, or has he? They're still side by side. Surely now the road is going to go for Raffaele Marciello. Yes, he's got the job done. That was brave stuff. Right, look at this. 3 Lamborghinis. They're all from the same team, and they all want the same place, John.
Yeah, I think really if you're running the team, you have to turn around to Norbert Siedler and say, look, let Ricardo Feller go, because we're allowing Konstantin Terashenko in the Silver Cup Mercedes to get away. We want to get on terms. Look, what are you going to do? It's like shuffling a pack of cards. These 3 Lamborghinis, no one wants to concede because, well, they're racing drivers.
Number 31, the Frank Bird Roichi Tomita Audi has just been formally retired from the race, as there is a challenge to the inside. The 2 Lamborghinis absolutely together as they come off the corner. The trade of places happens. So 114 moves through. Jack Aitken goes ahead of Norbert Siedler now, and the danger out of all of this is that Kelvin van der Linde gains ground as well. Look in the number 30 Audi. That's another car absolutely flying.
Yes, of course, Norbert Siedler has been slightly wrong-footed up at the far end of the racetrack, so he was offline getting onto the dirtier part of the racetrack. You pick up whatever rubbish is on that outside line, chokes up your tyres, and of course you do not want to have that Kelvin van der Linde. Look at him, he's already looking to get alongside, and he does, and he's taken that position away. All the consequence of what happened a few corners further back up the circuit. Turns 9 and 10. Kelvin van der Linde will take that every day, all day long. Thank you very much.
And there with a problem, look, is Kelvin van der Linde, who has slowed right down. So van der Linde all of a sudden has got a problem.
Yeah, that's a problem. They ain't going to get him to the, well, it might get him to the checkered flag, but he'll probably be more or less, we don't know what that issue is. It's not a tyre-related problem. Wow, almost overrun. Up the inside.
And out wide.
Up the inside again.
That's for the class lead, remember. That's for Silver Cup. So it is Terashenko, lost his lead, got it back. Ricardo Feller clambering all over the back of him, briefly ahead, but he ran so deep he lost the lead back to Terashenko. Only half a lap to go. Brilliant battle this, John.
Yes, it was. I mean, that was a big move by Ricardo Fella. He was so late in the brakes, he couldn't slow the car down. Tereshchenko saw it and made the easy undercut back, got up the inside as Fella was trying to regroup. But now, still, what, 2 corners remaining, 3 corners. Fella hasn't given up.
Ooh, contact there. That's going to unsettle the Mercedes. The race leader is heading up towards the line. There is the checkered flag. Dries Van Thor wins with Charles Weerts at Misano. Second, Lucas Stoltz and Mauro Engel. Third, Christopher Haase comes across the line in the Audi shared with Leo Russell. And what's going to happen here in the Silver Cup? Fella has been shuffled back, hasn't he, by Jack Aitken. So as they come over the line, the Mercedes takes the win in the class, but Ricardo Fella on the racetrack lost a place to his teammate. Well, let's have a look at the provisional result then as they came across the line. Charles Weerts and Dries Van Thor winning from Lucas Stoltz and Mauro Engel, with Leo Russell and Christopher Haase taking third. Aurélien Panis and Fred Verbiche fourth from Ollie Wilkinson and Ben Barnicoat. Sixth, Timur Boguslavski with Raffaele Marciello. Seventh, and winning the Silver Cup, Jim Pla and Konstantin Tereshchenko, ahead of Konsta Lapalainen and Jack Aitken. Ninth, second silvers, Alex Fontana and Ricardo Fella. And in the end, 10th, Albert Costa and Norbert Siedler in a race that should have delivered far more.
Dries and Charles, a fantastic result. Dries pushing right to the end there after that safety car restart.
Yeah, well, the safety car wasn't really helpful, but because we had a nice lead. But yeah, I gave it everything after the restart to make sure that our gap was comfortable enough, let's say. But it wasn't easy. But I mean, yeah, great job by the team. Amazing pit stop again, and Charles did an amazing job already all weekend. So looks like my lessons are paying off. No, I'm joking. No, but I mean, yeah, great performance by the team, and yeah. Can't wait for tomorrow, to be honest.
Absolutely. Charles, of course, as Dries said, his lessons are paying off.
Yeah, I mean, luckily he's not teaching me how to play golf, otherwise yeah, I would be still the training court. But yeah, I mean, really happy. As he said, team did amazing. It was a pleasure to drive this car. It was just perfect. The guys at the pit stop did again, I think, the fastest. Yeah, I mean, full Cielo was for sure not great for us, but yeah, it's racing. Sometimes it plays in your favor, sometimes against. And yeah, I mean, Dries did perfect to manage that, and yeah, it's great to be back in the lead and to have again a win here in Misano.
Absolutely, congratulations once again.
And this is how the championship now looks. Dries Van Thor and Charles Weerts having taken the lead with the point for pole, extending that lead over Ricardo Fella. Alex Fontana is third ahead of Raffaele Marciello and Timur Boguslavski. They're just half a point up on Mauro Engel and Lucas Stoltz, with Albert Costa 6th, 7th, Pierre-Alexandre Jean and Ulysse de Pauw ahead of Norbert Siedler. Then Ollie Wilkinson and Ben Barnicoat tied on points with Konstantin Tereshchenko. But congratulations to Charles Weerts and Dries Van Thor, win number 2 of the season. And there is more to look forward to tomorrow, starting afresh from a completely different grid after qualifying. And the story didn't quite end there, because post-race, the McLaren, 5th over the line, ended up with a 45-second penalty in lieu of a drive-through for an unsafe release. It dropped Ben Barnicoat and Ollie Wilkinson to 22nd place. However, let's look forward to race 2 of the weekend, a standalone qualifying session held at the start of the day. Johnny Adam is the man that lines up on pole position. He is the pro in the Pro-Am Aston Martin that he shares with Alexander West. They've had one class win. There's yesterday's Pro-Am winning car. That's the Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini. Enrique Chavez will go first in this 1-hour race. Mandatory pit stops between 25 and 35 minutes. And before we get into the grid itself, let's just go to the grid, because starting 5th is 88 Mercedes. Raffaele Marciello is at the wheel of it. Timur Boguslavski is with Gemma Scott.
Timur, you've got your handle bandaged up. What have you done?
I have a bit of bad luck 1 week ago, so I crashed in a buggy with my friend. I was like in the passenger seat. Broke a bit the muscles and skin, but now it's okay, more or less.
No problems posing for the session you've got later on, your stint?
Just a bit, the pain, but I'm okay.
Okay, have a good race. Thanks, Timur.
Thank you.
Made of strong stuff, these GT3 drivers. So Timur Boguslavski will do the second stint in the car that's 5th on the grid. And there is running up 13th, Ricardo Fella, involved in that Silver Cup battle yesterday. David Addison and John Watson trackside. Looking forward to what promises to be a really good race, John, because the qualifying session has given us a very jumbled grid indeed. And as we look down onto that grid. Let's just quickly hear from yesterday's winner, because Dries van Thor, third on the grid, is with Gemma.
Dries, I think qualifying threw up a few surprises, to be fair.
Yeah, you can. I mean, fair credit to them. I mean, they did an amazing job. It was very tight again, like yesterday. Let's see. I think we should be, or at least, hopefully, we can be a bit stronger on our long run pace. But let's see. It will not be easy, but our aim is just to score some points and think about the long goal, or that's how you call it.
Absolutely. Well, of course, you've got the Aston in front of you for the start. Do you think you can make a good start and get ahead of them before the first corner?
Will be tough. They're quite quick on the straights. But let's see. Maybe on the first lap, some possibilities, but I'm not going to take too much risks.
Okay, well, have a great race. Thank you very much, Dries. Let's come and walk this way, if we can, actually, down towards the front of the grid, because I did see Johnny and Alex, our pole sitters, just over here. Alex just taking a few photos of the car, actually. We'll come and have a quick chat. I saw Alex about 20 minutes ago in his shorts and t-shirt. You looked like you were on holiday a few moments ago, and now obviously fully prepped and ready to get in the car. Front row, great to see you guys in this position.
Yeah, no, I mean, Johnny did a fantastic job here, so it's been really good. I mean, the whole team has worked really hard together with AMR to get the car ready for today, and considering that Johnny has never been here before, it's pretty impressive that he managed to put it on pole. And you have to say that when you have 5 different brands within 1/10 of a second in qualifying, somebody's doing something right on the BOP side, so it's incredibly tight. So it's going to be really fun, and then going to be a challenging last half hour for me, but that's what we're here for, so it should be fun.
When I spoke to you earlier on in the paddock, you were saying to me how you're looking forward to getting in the car, but it's going to be stressful with all the pros right behind you.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously, as a Pro-Am team, we have a 15-second longer pit stop time, so we're going to come out somewhere in the middle, no matter what Johnny does. But yeah, no, it's just a matter of managing the traffic and trying to lose as little time as possible while we let some of the pro cars pass us. So that's sort of part of the endurance challenge as well. So I'm fairly used to it, so it should be okay.
Have a great race. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
And just to finish off the BOP story, Claude Sermon, who is the man behind the BOP, has got it right to give us such a competitive grid. So then, Watty, we're just about good to go, and it is a jumbled grid. You have got cars slightly out of position, but it was a mega effort by Johnny Adam. First time here and pole position, the first Sprint Cup pole for an Aston Martin.
And I think therein will lie a tale, because 2 driver car combinations, both this Garage 59 Ferrari, the Rinaldi Racing, the Aston Martin and the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari, we don't see them frequently at the front row of the grid. As opposed to the second row of the grid, well, you've got Charles Verts and Dries van Thor, Jack Aiken behind the wheel of the Emile Frey. So what that lead front row will do when the lights go out, down into turn 1, I expect that Johnny Adam will use that pole position to his full advantage. But those around are going to be looking for any opportunity, any weakness they see from those 2 front row pole sitters to see if they can sneak by, particularly in that first 1, 2, 3 turns, 1, 2, 3, the complex that catches out so many. And as we saw yesterday, many of the midfield cars had to cut across the inside of turn 2 to avoid coming into contact with other competitors.
Yeah, so Johnny Adams Aston, just to make the point again, that's a Pro-Am car. Now, the overall and the Silver Cup cars, their pit stops for the driver change and the tyre change, they can be as quick as you can do. But in the Pro-Am, and were we to have any Am entrance, the Am Cup as well, they have to be done to a time, pit in to pit out. So that's why Alexander West was saying on the pit stops they'll fall back, because they have to do it to the regulation time. That's a car that really didn't deserve in many ways to be only 22nd after yesterday, because it had raced really well. Ben Barnicoat goes first today, the McLaren with that post-race penalty for an unsafe release yesterday. But the McLaren, John, did show good speed yesterday.
McLaren has been very strong all weekend, and I mean, can you imagine the disappointment that having the result 5 seconds, the penalty, 5th place, all the way back down to outside the top 20. Well, I don't know what they can expect to do today, but one thing is for sure, I think this is as unpredictable a race as we had on Saturday afternoon, regardless of where you might start in this field.
And there's one car starting in the pits. Christopher Meeks had an engine change at the end of qualifying, so number 66 Audi is going to start from the pit lane. That's the Attempto car. What about WRT Audi? To win yesterday, team principal Vincent Voss is with Gemma.
Vincent, it was a good result yesterday for the win, but it seemed to be struggling a little bit with the other 2 cars.
Yeah, I mean, we had issues on the other 2 cars. Well, we hope today to have a better race, not especially for car 32, but for 30 at 21, and place on the grid looks good. So let's see to do a good race.
What was the problem yesterday?
Oh, we had an issue on the wheel nut of one of the car, and on the other car, well, ECU. That's why the car stopped, and the other car we had another technical issue, which I keep it for me.
Okay, we're not going to get any more out of you, are we?
No.
Okay, well, hopefully you have a much better race for all three cars. Thank you.
Sparing out his blushes, I think, there, Gemma, wasn't he, Vincent Vos? So Kelvin van der Linde's car was the one that had the ECU drama and coasted to a halt, which was a real shame because, as ever, Kelvin had been really charging. Yesterday's race had 2 interruptions, 2 full course yellow into safety car periods, which, of course, had that result of continually bunching up the field. They're 7th on the grid, 2nd yesterday. Mauro Engels starts with Lukas Stoltz. They had a win at Magny-Cours. But that car, John, should be one to watch, I would have thought. It should be higher up than 7th, really.
I mean, it's one of probably about 15 cars on the grid we should keep an eye on. One thing I have to say, David, is that following on yesterday at the start of that sprint race, turn 6, the Porsche 54 Dynamic Motorsport got off track, ran wide over those sausage or banana curbs. Car had a very unpleasant, very nasty outcome, resulting in a severely damaged chassis, and Adrian Delaney getting 4 minor fractures or fractures to his vertebrae. So everybody will have to be on their toes on the opening lap going through turn 6. Be aware, do not run wide. Do not think you can gain something by going off track, because those curbs will punish you as harshly as they did yesterday, the 54 Dynamic Motorsport Porsche.
Very true indeed, and it's a shame that we lose that car from today's race. Now there is Raffaele Marciello's Mercedes. That is 5th on the grid. Raffaele to go first, 4th in the championship. They finished 5th. He and Timo Boguslavski in yesterday's race. They're lining up 4th is Jack Aitken in number 114, the Emil Frey Racing Lamborghini. They got 7th out of yesterday's race, and you'll see number 32 Audi there. Yesterday's winning car, Dries Van Thor and Charles Weerts. And if they win this, then as a partnership, they will have won more races in the Sprint Cups history than any other partnership, because this will be a 6th if they can manage to take a second win of the weekend. The front row, lining up on the outside of it there, number 33, Patrick Kujala, sharing with the Chilean Benjahaitis, and they got 11th out of yesterday's race, and on pole position, 188. Johnny Adam racing here for the first time, first Aston Martin pole. That car copped a 5-second penalty in yesterday's race because of contact in the first frantic few laps. Alexander West getting into the back of Giorgio Roda, but it's a different story today. Johnny Adam on pole position. Can't wait to see how he goes over the opening laps, because that Aston has got bags of grunt in a straight line and might be able to escape, John.
Well, that'll be the key for Johnny Adam at the lights going out. He needs to be on it. Keep an eye on the Ferrari to your left. Keep an eye on this car, 32 Audi behind you. Keep your eyes skinned, basically. But that little bit of additional straight line performance we've seen from the Aston here this weekend, along with the 2 Bentleys, might be the salvation on the rundown into turn 1 on the opening lap.
The formation lap underway here at Misano. We are near the Adriatic coast, and we are looking forward to what promises to be a cracking race. Johnny Adams starts on pole. Patrick Kujala lining up on the outside of the front row of the grid. It is Audi and Lamborghini on row 2, Dries Van Thor alongside Jack Aitken. The third row, Raffaele Marciello lining up 5th, and Kelvin van der Linde for Audi starts 6th. 7th is where you find Mauro Engels Mercedes. 8th from the ACA ASP Mercedes team, Jules Gounon. Lining up 9th, Ben Barnicoat in the Jota McLaren. 10th is Ryoichiro Tomita in the WRT run Audi ahead of Juuso Pohaka's Mercedes, and Fred Verbies in the Santalok Racing run Audi. 13th for Emil Frey in the Lamborghini, Ricardo Feller lining up alongside Enrique Chavez for Barwell, the Pro-Am winning car yesterday. Pierre-Alexandre Jean's Bentley caused a red flag in qualifying when he put it in the gravel. He starts 15th alongside Christopher Hauser, who's a long way back actually in the qualifying session this morning. Nikolai Giergaard retired yesterday. He starts 17th. Dominic Baumann, class winner at the Zandvoort Sprint Cup event, 18th on the grid. 19th yesterday, Silver Cup winner Konstantin Terashenko. 20th, a long way back, the Norbert Siedler Alvar Costa Lamborghini. Siedler could be another man to watch ahead of Dennis Marshall's attempt to Audi in the Santalok R8 in the hands of Marcus Winkelhock, only 22nd. 23rd, Chris Froggett's Ferrari, and then Ezequiel Perez Compact's Mad Panda Motorsport Mercedes lines up 24th. Lance David Arnold, normally a Porsche specialist, in the Mercedes of SPS Automotive Performance, and Andrea Bertolini's Pro-Am Ferrari lines up 26th on the grid. 27th, Klaus Bachler for Team Allied Racing. Stefan Richelme in the second, CMR Bentley, 28th on the grid. And then starting from the pits is Christopher Mies in the Tempto Racing number 66 Audi that he shares with Fabien Laverne. Why is it in the pits? It's had an engine change since qualifying, and the penalty for an engine change is that you must start from the pits. They were last on the grid anyway, so it doesn't really make any odds. And actually what it has the benefit in a sense of doing is putting you behind any dramas that might occur at turns 1, 2 and 3. So then, this is going to be a very frantic first few corners, but Dries van Thor just needs to keep out of trouble, doesn't he? Because he and Charles Weir, it's probably the strongest partnership that we've got within the first 3 rows of the grid.
Yes, well, I have to say, Dries van Thor, pretty canny these days behind the wheel of that 32 Audi. He knows what's possible, he knows what's not possible. His only concern will be those charging from behind. He's got Raffaele Marcello directly behind him. Well, anytime Marcello's behind you, you need to keep your eyes on your mirror because he will make a gap. Kelvin van der Linde alongside on that 3rd row of the grid in the WRT Audi. Likewise, 100% pure gold South African race driver.
Just caught a glimpse of Albert Costa in the pit garage. He wasn't feeling very well yesterday, but he did a good job in 2nd place in his stint. So now the cars get themselves into the 2x2 formation, ready for the start of the race. The pace car, as it will be now, peels into the pit lane, and it's up to the front row drivers to control things up towards the line. Johnny Adam then in 188, starting on pole position. The lights in a moment will blink green. Race 2 at Misano. It's go! Who makes the best start? Johnny Adam tries to floor the throttle and break away. He's on the inside line. To the outside line, it's Kuyler in the Ferrari as they dive into turn 1. Round the outside for 3rd. Tries to go Jack Aitken. Has he been able to squeeze by Van Thor? No. Dries van Thor comes out of turn 2 in 3rd place. Marcello up the curve. But a great start by Johnny Adam. He leads, and there are cars way wide coming out of turn 3 there, John.
Yes, it's inevitable. There's so many cars, 29 cars, plus 1 starting from the pit lane, getting through that first complex, always difficult. Here's the corner everybody needs to be aware of. Where are those curves? Oh, the McLaren goes out wide, but not anywhere near those sausage or banana curves. Up the inside on the grass, through the curve at 7, 3 wide, almost diving down on the brakes into turn 8.
That was Tomita being brave in the yellow and white Audi. Now Ben Barnicoat comes up to have a go at the Mercedes. That's Maro Engel, isn't it, being shuffled backwards in the pack. Ben Barnicoat to the outside line in the Jota Run McLaren. Engel's a bit stuck in the traffic as they come out of turn 10. So up front, Johnny Adam leads the way, and he's trying to build that advantage over Patrick Kuyler. They're 2nd in the Rinaldi Ferrari. 3rd is Van Thor. 4th is Jack Aitken. Look at this battle pack. Ryuichiro Tomita just ahead of Maro Engel, just ahead of Ben Barnicoat. And they're being caught as well because Jules Gounod there, who's got rid of his moustache overnight, he is next in the queue as they now come up through turn 14. Johnny Adam leads the way, but Kuyler, if anything, I think he's bringing the gap down. The Ferrari coming back at the Aston.
Ferrari, quick car. The strength of the Aston Martin has got, of course, is in that straight line. Nevertheless, look at the fighting going on midfield towards the back of the field. It's just nuts on the opening lap. But Kuyler, as you say, has got himself right under the rear wing of Johnny Adam into turn 1. Likewise, almost bumps into the rear of the Aston, turn 2. Dries van Thor sitting there, Jack Aitken, he's got to be the man now that's going to be thinking, where can I, at the earliest opportunity, put pressure on Dries van Thor to put my Lamborghini ahead of him into 3rd place.
And Raffaele Marciello is closing up 5th in the blue Mercedes, and he'll be thinking the same about getting past Aitken. So it's going to be a really fierce fight, this, for the first stint of this 1-hour race here at Misano. The rest of the field all wriggles through. There is Konstantin Tereshchenko. Chris Frogger trying to dive through on the inside line, and he has done so. So the drivers accelerate down towards turn 8. Christopher Mies, having just started from the pit lane, his team manager is now being summoned to the steward's office. So that story might run and run as on track Jack Aitken closes on Van Thor, who closes on Kuyler, who in turn is closing on Johnny Adam on this lap 2 of the race. At the end of lap 1, Johnny was only 1/5 of a second ahead. So Kuyler in the Ferrari doing a great job with the aero of staying with him.
And he's been not only staying with him, he's been as close as it's possible to get without almost destroying your own natural pace. But it's the Dries van Thor. Look how close these lead 4 cars are, lead 5 cars, lead 6 cars, all covered by just over a second.
All the way back to Kelvin van der Linde, isn't it, in the Rofco Gulf-coloured Audi, WRT entry in 6th place. So, end of lap 2 coming up. Johnny Adam leads the way. Last time it was 0.259 of a second when he broke the beam. Comes over the stripe now, and the margin is 0.4 of a second. Kuyla right behind him under braking, though, closing that gap down again. Vanthoor there is 3rd, Jack Aitken 4th, Marciello is 5th, and you're riding with him. Now, can he find any spare real estate on the run up towards turn 4? The BOP equates the cars, but then it makes it really tough to have any advantage in order to overtake.
Well, I mean, I keep focusing on Jack Aitken and that 4th place Lamborghini, pushing all the way. He's got Raffaele Marciello behind him, waiting for an opportunity that Jack Aitken might make a move, make something that was an unpredictable move. Look, he's going down the inside to block Marciello, trying to now take the long way round turn 8, but he'll be forced out wide by the Lamborghini. Now will he make the cutback to try and get himself into position as Aitken defends up the inside. Marciello, he can't stay on the outside all the time. He'll have to make the cutback. Otherwise, he's going to make himself vulnerable to Kelvin van der Linde directly behind.
So Marciello trying everything here. He wants to be making progress forward. He's still stuck behind Jack Aitken, and because Jack's been defending, he's lost a couple of lengths to the Audi of Dries Vanthoor that goes through. Up front, Johnny Adam leads the way. Johnny has done the fastest lap of the race as well. I know we've only had 2 flyers, but thus far he's the quickest man out there, 1:34.4, and on this lap, he's just edged away slightly from Kuyla, back on board with Marciello. He's got to make up lost ground again.
I don't know what to say, because he's got pressure from behind. Kelvin van der Linde closed up fractionally into the rear of the Mercedes. Kujala shows the nose of the Ferrari into the Aston Martin's wing mirror to make Johnny Adam think, well, do I need to look forward all the time, or must I keep an eye behind me to see where that Ferrari is?
Johnny Adam leading the race there in the Aston Martin. He's also leading Pro-Am. The 2nd place car in Pro-Am is 14, so there's a huge cushion between the Aston Martin and the Pro-Am class opposition. I'm not for a moment suggesting Johnny should get out of the way and let the traffic through, but effectively he's in a different race, isn't he?
Yes, he is, and there's these 3 different categories all combined into one race. The person right now, I think, is standing, probably shaking, sweating, is Alexander West, because he's going to be taking over that Aston Martin from Johnny Adam. And he knows that there will be a lot of pressure, not so much to win this race, but to consolidate their position in the Pro-Am category.
Now, top speed over the line. The Bentleys, as expected, so strong in a straight line. The fastest thus far, Stefan Richelny clocking 259 kph, 257 from the sister car that Pierre-Alexandre Jean helms at the moment in this race vision powered by AWS graphic. So, you're riding on board with Marciello. We are 5th at the moment. 6th and out wide behind him is Kelvin van der Linde, and through Covoni, turn 11, that very fast right-hand kink. The data from that again show the Bentleys using all of that grunt, and then you've got Aston Martin, McLaren and Lamborghini to round out the top 5 in terms of straight line speed. 234 kilometres through that right-hand kink. Johnny Adam puts lap 4 in the book, and he's now 0.6 of a second ahead.
But interestingly, Kujala and the Ferrari in that last sector went fastest overall of anybody. Jack Aitken on that lap also fastest 2nd sector overall so far. So the pace of all these lead 6 cars more or less identical. The danger is you get so close to the car that you're following, looking at Chris Froggatt. In case at a point you get too close behind the car you're chasing, and then you lose that natural pace that you would have.
Chris Froggatt hustling on, Dominic Baumann ahead of him in the Mercedes. The SPS Automotive Performance car, class winners in Pro-Am at Zandvoort, but Chris Froggatt's Ferrari tries to wriggle its way up the order, that being one of the Silver Cup cars. So looking back, see the Lamborghini taking a big bite of curb there. Norbert Siedler still struggling to make progress up from 23rd. So Johnny Adam leads the way. He's done the fastest lap of the race thus far, but he's only been able to eke out 0.6 of a second. Extraordinary to think in a way that Johnny's never raced here before. You kind of assume he must have done because he's been one of the top GT drivers for so long. There, Ben Barnicoat on the tail of Mauro Engel. This is for 8th and 9th places, and Engel wants to be making progress forward, not having to defend, and defend he must. Elbows out, because that McLaren is all over him like a rash now.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt Ben Barnicoat, if he could find a way past the number 6 Mercedes-Benz, could pull away. So Mauro Engel's driving in the defensive frame of mind rather than the attacking. So the Audi directly ahead has managed to pull away. So Tomita, who had been under pressure from the 6%, is able to relax a little bit more. But Ben Barnacle keeping Maro Engel absolutely on his toes.
So Maro Engel having to defend, and while he is here down in 8th place, giving up points to Dries Vanthoor, the championship leader with Charles Weerts. Ben Barnicoat and the Jota McLaren accelerates through now. Barnicoat coming under pressure as well. Ricardo Feller, winner of race 1 at Zandvoort, closing and taking with him Jules Gounod. They're down in 11th spot, so there's another battle building up nicely towards the bottom end of the top 10. But Johnny Adams still holds sway outright and in Pro-Am. We've done very nearly the first 10 minutes of the race. The Silver Cup Lamborghini 10th in the hands of Ricardo Feller. So now Barnicoat on the attack against Engel, on the defensive against Feller.
It's almost calmed down because we've got gaps of sort of 5 to 7 tenths of a second. Johnny Adams has consolidated his pole position. Patrick Kuchera threw everything at him in those opening 2 laps, but hasn't been able to make any further progress. Likewise, Dries Vanthoor sitting behind,
must give
just
back
watching.
1 position. Car 27 must give back 1 position due to the contact in turn 4 with 107.
So that is Marcus Winkelhock, who has got himself past Pierre-Alexandre Jean with contact. The voice you've just heard is Alain Adon, the race director, saying number 27, Audi, has got to give back 1 position for gaining it after contact. Riding with Vanthoor now, down towards turn 4. So Dries Vanthoor chasing after the Silver Cup Ferrari and the Pro-Am Aston Martin. So in real terms, Dries Vanthoor is where he wants to be. He's in the lead of his class, isn't he?
And I'm sure that the WRT team will be saying on the radio, look, these 2 cars ahead of you, when they come in and do their pit stops and driver changes, will not be at the level of competitiveness that they are right now. So don't get involved, engaged in a battle where you could end up being the loser rather than being the winner.
There you see Winkelhock giving his place back to Pierre-Alexandre Jean in the CMR Bentley, CMR being Classic Modern Racing, and Pierre-Alexandre Jean then is given back 16th place. The second Aston Martin there, the Silver Cup entry, Nikolai Kiergaard at the wheel of it.
Okay, car 27 position is given back.
Right, so confirmation, Marcus Winkelhock has given his place back. Now he can challenge again there in the white Audi, hustling on. So the Bentley, having been given the place back, pulls clear. There is Enrique Chavez in the Barwell Lamborghini going through. And here, look, Marciello right onto the back of Jack Aitken. And look now, because he's got to defend, Aitken has fallen back hugely from Vanthoor.
Don't know why that happened, but certainly you think a head of steam has come to the hands of Raffaele Marciello, and Jack Aitken is now thinking defensively, not in the attack mode he had been, what, a lap and a bit ago when he was right under the rear wing of Dries Vanthoor in the 32 Audi. So out of turn 3, the car runs wide. You can use the curbing on the outside. Careful here, because it's possible you can begin to set up a move, not through turns 4 and 5 or through 6, but on the run down to turn 8. Little puff of smoke came off the right rear of Jack Aitken's Lamborghini, but he's stretched the advantage. Whatever happened to lose ground to the Audi, he's managed to stretch a little bit further ahead of Marciello in the space of that half a lap.
He goes way out wide there over the curb, coming through turn 8. Got this kink at 9, then the right-hander of turn 10, the proper corner, if you like. That just sets you up for it. Marciello closing under braking, but then Aitken, of course, gets the power down nicely and sprints away the other side of the corner.
Yeah, just different lines. The line that Aitken took was the later apex, where we saw Marciello coming in slightly earlier, so his exit speed, I think, was marginally compromised, where Aitken got a better drive, and you can see the little bit of stretch that he was able to pull on that sort of dog leg straight down into turns 13, now into 14.
Now turn 9, which is that little kink up at the top of the lap. Raffaele Marciello, the fastest there, looking at our race vision powered by AWS graphic. Johnny Adam, the second fastest on 169 kilometres an hour against the 172 of Raffaele Marciello. Kelvin van der Linde's Audi, Raichiro Tomita's Audi, Christopher Meese's Audi, the next fastest in terms of pure speed Johnny Adam is leading, and he's now got that gap out. There he is. It's over a second to Patrick Kujala, and if anything, I think Kujala is going to have to look to his laurels soon, because Dries Van Thor is on the attack and he's bringing down the gap to the Ferrari.
The Aston has been consistent. Johnny Adam has been consistent. The Ferrari was strong in the opening 2 or 3 laps, but beginning to fall back marginally, certainly losing ground to the lead Aston Martin and offering up Dries Van Thor the chance. But as you pointed out earlier, David, these lead 2 cars are in a different race to the Pro 32 Audi. So Van Thor doesn't need to make a pass of these 2 cars. That'll occur by the time the driver pit stop changes are filtered through. It'll be the focus on behind Jack Aitken, Raffaele Marcello, Kelvin van der Linde, and the et al. Who are running in the lower up top 10 places.
Yeah, the second stint is going to be fascinating, where you get different drivers into the cars, which in turn are going to be in different positions, partly because you'll have taken some of the Pro-Ams away from the battle pack, but also because you factor in the slick pit work. WRT experts at it. We had a rather slow stop yesterday by Endel Frey Racing, and going out way wide there in the background was Jules Gounon. So the Mercedes losing a length or 2 relative to Ricardo Feller, who in turn is still chasing after Ben Barnicoat.
As Ben Barnicoat has dropped back marginally from the tail of Maro Engel. He's got Ricardo Feller now all under the rear wing of the McLaren. I mean, it's been hard work. These drivers are working so hard in these more humid conditions today. It's more overcast. The blue sky is no longer around. But it is a physical circuit in that you never get a chance to relax. Briefly you do on the dogleg straight, but it's hard work. You're corner upon corner, brake, accelerate, brake, accelerate.
Battle on for second place, look, as Johnny Adam builds that gap. Dries Van Thor inching up onto the back of Kujala now. 0.4 of a second it was. Dries looks to the inside, trying to unsettle the Ferrari. He doesn't need to get past, but equally, he doesn't want to get stuck and then be caught again by Aitken and Marciello and van der Linde. So Dries Van Thor, if an opportunity presents, I suspect he'll take it, but he's not going to risk everything to do it, is he?
Absolutely. I mean, he will take the chance if something happens to Kujala and the Ferrari, compromise, maybe makes a small driving error. Van Thor will be there, but he's not going to go toe-to-toe with the Ferrari in a battle which we pointed out is not the battle here for the 32 Audi this afternoon.
So Johnny Adams still has the fastest lap of the race to his name. Now, in terms of sectors, Raffaele Marciello is doing absolute best, certainly in the middle of the lap. So the 88 Mercedes having another attack now against Jack Aitken, trying to close, trying to get into a position where he can attack. But you can see the gap has widened. Might be Marciello having dropped back just to get some clean air through the car, to let the car cool and have a respite, then he can push on again rather than being stuck close up behind the Lamborghini for lap after lap after lap and not making progress. But as he goes over the line now, Aitken is 0.8 ahead of Marciello in that fight for 4th position. Johnny Adam is still leading by over a second, and the Aston Martin still has the best lap of the race. And Maro Engel has had dramas because the Mercedes has not come through. So number 6 Mercedes, Maro Engel, he has come through in 8th place. Now, why was he dropping down the order? It must be a transponder glitch in the timing system for Engel. Yes, there he is in the background, but the timing screen had him tumbling down the order a moment ago. So Engel is still going. Few panic over, and there he is, but he's still further down than he wants to be.
But he's still got Ben Barnicoat behind him in the McLaren, so whatever his problems are, they weren't sufficient to let Barnicoat and the Georgia Sport McLaren make up that position. I mean, it is, honestly, it is so frenetic. The level of concentration that you need when you're running as closely as you are in this group of cars. The nature of the Misano racetrack, 16 turns, 4.2 kilometers in the heat and the humidity. It is a very, very physical and requires the deepest of concentration. As well, that's a mistake, certainly, down at turn 10.
That, I think, is 99 out of the Attempto car of Dennis Marshall. So he rejoins. Did he get there with an assist? Oh, yeah. Did he ever? That was Konstantin Tereshchenko.
Yeah, the left front's gone. And, yeah, Tereshchenko's cut down to the left front tire in his Mercedes. One might say, is that justice? Well, neither will be satisfied with what's happened.
Quite so. So Tereshchenko might end up being looked at for that, as the race leaders now work lap number 12. You're riding with Dries Van Thor. He's still there in 3rd spot. Pit window opens after 25 minutes, but in the majority of cases here, you've got the faster driver in, so anticipate they will do longer through the window than maybe the second driver did yesterday.
I think you could maybe assume that Johnny Adam will be in until the end of the pit stop window opportunity. It would be only fair on Alexander West to give him that opportunity to get into the car, having established a lead that has never even looked to be challenged in reality, other than on the first couple of 3 corners when Patrick Kužela thought there was an opportunity with the Ferrari to sneak through, but it hasn't done it. Johnny Adam has driven wheel perfectly so far. He's now on lap 13 and he's got clear air. That's the advantage he's got. He's not compromised by following another car. He's got no aerodynamic compromise, he's got no cooling compromises. He can focus on what he's doing, and he's doing a great job.
And not surprisingly, after that puncture, Terashenko's Mercedes is in the pit lane. There is Patrick Kužela in second place, coming under attack from Dries Van Voor, but it's fascinating to watch Kužela, for many years associated with Lamborghinis, having been a real gun in Super Trofeo, but he's now proving that he's more versatile. He's raced Mercedes successfully in the British GT Championship, now Ferraris here, as well as GT3 spec Lamborghinis, so Kužela becoming very much a versatile driver rather than being pigeonholed with one brand like many drivers are these days.
But he is feeling the pressure from Dries Van Voor. He made an error. He ran a little bit too wide coming out of turn 15 at the end of the previous lap. He's now got Dries Van Voor really threatening that second position. But again, the defence from Kužela precludes anything that Dries Van Voor will do at turn 4 and 5. Now the opportunity will arise going into turn 8 if Dries Van Voor wishes to take the opportunity, or maybe I should say the risk.
So we are 5 minutes or so from the pit window opening. Does Van Voor sit behind and bail early to get out of the traffic and put Charles Weerts in, or does he push? The danger is, as I say, that he gets stuck behind and gets caught again by Aitken and Marciello and Van der Linde, for example, that long queue of cars. Now Mauro Engel getting away from Ben Barnicoat once more. Engel hanging on to that 8th place, chasing after Ryuichiro Tomita, outright race winner last year. Tomita 7th in the yellow-nosed Audi, coming onto the back straight out of turn 10. This is Covoni, this is turn 11, that fast kink through which they blast now.
And just for confirmation that Kužela is dropping back rather than Johnny Adam pulling away, there you can see what's happened. Dries Van Voor bumps into the back of the Ferrari. Gap when they came across the line, just under 1.4 seconds. That's at the end of the lap that they've just gone on to. Dries Van Voor all over. Now, does he want to force the issue? Not getting that far away from the pit stop window, opening up at 35 minutes to go.
He's certainly getting more committed, isn't he, as they come now past the pits, down towards turn 1. No chance on the inside, though, there. Van Voor has to slot back in, but Kužela feeling the pressure. This is all playing into the hands of Johnny Adam, who is now 2 seconds clear up front. Riding with Van Voor then, up towards turn 4. Thinks about the inside, but Patrick Kužela is keeping that door closed, locked and bolted.
There's no space. It puts the Ferrari just almost in the middle racetrack, not quite that Dries Van Voor wants. I mean, that's what good racing drivers do. They frustrate your challenger. You make sure you don't allow them to get onto the front foot and put you under pressure.
So the man to watch out of all of this could be Aitken behind, because in the first sector he is 2/10 quicker than Van Voor, who is just stuck. He has found the cork in the bottle, and it's Kužela's Ferrari. So watch that Lamborghini in 4th place. Jack Aitken creeping back onto the tail of the Audi, and he's taking Raffaele Marciello with him as Johnny Adam now gets his head down and pulls away. He's building a huge gap.
Yes, he's enjoying having the benefit of the Ferrari losing natural pace, and also had the threat that's coming from the Audi behind. So he is just able to focus.
Warning flag to car 14 and 25 for track limits. Warning flag 14 and 25 track limits.
So 25 is Christopher Haase being warned about track limits. Number 14 is Ricardo Feller. So the race control team seeing reports of people running too wide over the curbs and not taking action yet, but just doing a bit of finger wagging there, was he?
Very much so, and I'm a big supporter of track limits and maybe the penalties, or some of the penalties anyway, that go with offence. If you do it once, you get the warning twice, you get a double warning 3 times, you will get a penalty.
Between car 87 and car 99 in D10 under investigation.
That was the Terashenko incident, wasn't it, that we saw a little while ago against Dennis Marshall. So that's being looked at by the stewards as Johnny Adam accelerates through. And now Van Voor makes a huge dive up the inside. He left it late, but late on the brakes. He goes wide, had got the place, loses the place, and Kujala is back through.
Great to see that bit of motor racing. Big move by Dries van Voor, but of course he was that little bit too late in the brakes. But again, trying to get alongside the Ferrari as they come on to this dog-leg straight. Who's got the better straight line performance? Probably even Stevens, but track position is in the favour of Dries van Voor, who has now consolidated that second place. Great effort into turn 8, unsettled Kujala a little bit and allowed Dries van Voor just to work the Ferrari over in turns 9 and 10. But it's look at it, concertina, 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th places.
So that brings Jack Aitken very definitely into the mix now. But look, Van Voor, he's on his toes straight away. He hasn't got that much of this stint of the race left, so he's got to maximise the opportunity now to try to gap the overall class opposition as they come over the line. Johnny Adam leads the way. 23.5 minutes done. He's got 3 seconds in hand. Van Voor is second. Down to third is Kujala. Still leading the Silver Cup, mind you. 4th is Jack Aitken. 5th is Mark Yellow. 6th is Van der Linde as they go through. But now Van Voor is pushing.
Oh, well, we've got Jack Aitken in a prancing bull, or a Ferrari in the bucking Ferrari, whichever way round you get it. But anyway, the Ferrari is marginally ahead of the Lamborghini, and I know that Jack Aitken has seen what's gone on, and he thinks, well, if Dries van Voor can force the issue, I'm going to do the very same thing.
So Johnny Adam, don't forget the Pro-Am car with this timed pit stop. It is 77 seconds line to line, so it will drop away, whereas the overall cars can do the stops and the Silver Cup cars can do their stops as quickly as possible. Norbert Siedler 21st. Gemma from the pits tells us that Albert Costa is still feeling under the weather today, so what progress that car makes in the second stint is debatable, but right now we are just a handful of seconds away from the pit window
Warning
opening.
flag car 89, track limits 3 times. Warning flag 89, track limits 3 times.
89 is Jules Gounod, as 188 is Johnny Adam. You've got to say that Johnny has driven a fantastic first stint. Pit window is open now.
Exemplary. He used his pole position, and now Mauro Engel, first car we've seen to dive in, and I think Riccardo Vella might have followed him into the pit lane as well. So the number 6 Mercedes makes its way into a clear pit lane. Should be an easy stop. Lucas Stolz gets behind the wheel. And it is Feller going to hand over to Alex Fontana. So Emil Frey in as the Mercedes still rolls down the pit lane.
So that gets Engel out of the traffic. It gets Feller and Fontana's car out of the traffic as well. 99, Dennis Marshall's Audi retired, and so too Konstantin Terashenko after the contact that they had. Suspension damage to both, and that wheel won't set. Well, it won't seat properly.
No, they're having trouble getting the
Incident
dials
between
that locate the
90
wheel.
and 93 under investigation.
Just go back to that pit stop, John. What was all that about?
Well, just you get a heat expansion, you get a wheel rim, which is a different temperature than the heat of the actual hub of the car. And if the tolerances are very tight, then the expansion makes it very difficult to locate the wheel back on there's a number of dials before you can get the wheel fully seated, get the nut attached back. So they had to have 2 or 3 bites at the cherry, and that's time, valuable time lost for Riccardo Vella. Now is Alex Fontana taking over that Lamborghini.
So we'll see what the pit stop times are on exit. Yesterday, fascinating to see some of the huge differences in pit stop times. So back into the race will go number 14, Alex Fontana. 1 minute 18.3 was the pit stop time for that car. Mauro Engel's Mercedes has gone back out, and that stop is yet to come up on the screen because it was a slower one, even allowing for
Drive-through penalty to car 87. Drive-through penalty car 87.
Well, that's Konstantin Terashenko, but he's out of the race, so we can ignore that drive-through. Right, Tomita is in, and so also is Yusuf Pohaka there in the Mercedes. Johnny Adam leading Van Voor by 2.4 seconds.
Yes, Dries van Voor has come in. He's just gone fastest in the first sector on the 19th lap, as this is the battle going on for second, third, fourth and fifth, with the Mercedes in 5th place behind the Lamborghini. The Lamborghini is still trying, well, drop back a little bit now on this lap to the tail of Patrick Kujala in the Ferrari.
For information to everyone, the drive-through given to 87, the driver will get 2 behavior warning points with it.
Busy man today, Alamadan, isn't he?
He'll be sending us an invoice yet. He's part of the commentary team. Yes, he's very, very busy.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, bring him into the booth any day of the week.
We'll run the race, he can do the commentary. Right, there is Kujala under attack from Jack Aitken now. So this is for third place, isn't it? Because Vantor has checked out. He's away. He's gone up the road.
Yeah, and he's cutting into the advantage that Johnny Adam has, but it's all rather academic because by the time Dries Van Voor gets sufficiently close to the tail of the Aston Martin and the Ferrari bails, so Patrick Kujala has given up, allowing Jack Aitken the opportunity to run in third place in relatively clear air. That might help him to pull away a little bit, only a little bit, from the Mercedes, which is now up to fourth place.
But Vantor is going to get the lead on the pit stops, or that car. Charles Wirtz will take it over because a 77-second stop for Johnny Adam. He's going to drop them behind the Audi in the stops anyway. So number 32 now is a shoe-in for the race lead into the second stint as Benji Heighties takes over from Patrick Kujala. Kujala, in fairness, did a really good job there in that stint.
But he did everything he could have done when the lights went out. He forced the issues into turn 1, 2 and 3, but didn't quite have the speed when he needed it. And Johnny Adam literally has done the perfect drive he could have been asked to do. Took the lead, has not put a wheel wrong. Wow, look at that, a little bit close coming into the pits and going out of the pits, but all's fair and no damage.
Number 40, Lance David Arnold in to give way to Jordan Love. So we're approaching halfway. There is Christopher Mies to hand the car to Fabien Levan, the French GT4 racer coming to race in this for the first time. In the gravelly qualifying yesterday. Johnny Adam is staying out for as long as he can, but the gap is coming down between him and Dries Van Voor. Enrique Chavez is still second in Pro-Am, and Dominic Baumann is third. So the second stint is going to be a very shuffled one indeed, I think.
Well, what is, I think, pretty clear is that we'll see the second car on line here. Dries Van Voor is in, going to hand over to Charles Wirtz. Late cut into the pits, but again, it's all about the team, WRT. They know what needed to be done. Get our car in now. We're not in a battle with Johnny Adam and the Pro-Am Aston Martin. So this will be the pit stop that will either make or break a victory, a second victory here this weekend for WRT.
So Charles Wirtz is ready to take over. The car stops. Mechanics go to work. 2 mechanics to do the 4 tyres. That's Marciello giving way to Timur Boguslavski. The car drops down and away it goes. WRT.
That looks to be a pretty good stop for the 88. Mercedes, of course, the Audi at the very bottom of the pit lane. It's being held back. Now it's given the sign to go. The Mercedes still trundling down, but the 88 Mercedes has clearly made up ground in terms of track position because it's now directly behind the car taken over by Charles Wirtz, the 32 Audi, which will in effect be the lead car.
So Charles Wirtz ready to floor the throttle to accelerate out of the pit lane, which he does now. That will stretch the margin, of course, because still having to trundle, to use John's word, is Timur Boguslavski, who now accelerates away, but Charles Wirtz back on track. 62.3 seconds that pit stop against 64.3 for the Mercedes. So it was a decent stop by ACA ASP, but still not quite as good as WRT.
No, and I mean, races we saw yesterday, without hesitation, WRT won that race because they had a superb pit stop, got the car in, turned around, handed over to Dries Van Voor, and then 6 or 8 seconds in hand over the rest of the field. And when you're given a gift like that, well, you're not going to give it back.
No, indeed. So right now, I think Charles is going to take some stopping. They're going through is Boguslavski. Now that is Lukas Stoltz. He's going to be another man to watch when the pit stops will cycle through, because that Mercedes, having got out of traffic early, is about to gain another place. Frank Bird goes way out wide in the Audi there. So Frank Bird gets back onto the racetrack, but he'll have really dirty tyres for the next few corners.
Yeah, and Lukas Stoltz will be looking to see how can I get up the inside into turn 14 or 13 they're coming into now. Doesn't quite have the conviction to make that move, but he saw what Frank Bird did. That was just a fundamental error on your out lap, just ran wide in the exit of turn 10. So he is now in a race with Lukas Stoltz, and he knows, having made one mistake, Stoltz will not need another opportunity.
Yeah, Lukas Stoltz much more experienced in this type of car than Frank Bird in only his second season of GT3. There he is running out wide through the gravel back onto the circuit, so fresh into the car, of course. Frank Bird drove the Parker Racing Bentley last year, part of their young driver program, now at WRT, but he's got one of the top Mercedes drivers bearing down on him. It won't be long, surely, before Stoltz finds a way by.
Interesting, the lines that both drivers took coming into turns 4 and 5. Stoltz stayed way on the left-hand side to give him, again, it's about working through turns 4, 5, then through 6. The best chance to pass will be coming down here into turn 8, but nowhere near close enough. So Frank Bird has recovered, but he knows that Lucas Stoltz has a quick car, experienced, quick driver. Best chance might be again on the exit of 10, depending where you come in.
That's Jack Aitken in, that's Kelvin van der Linde in. He will give way to Benji Goethe, Jack Aitken to Konsta Lapalainen. So that means that Johnny Adam is still staying out as expected for as long as he can to give Alex West the best opportunity into the second stint. Stoltz hasn't yet found a way past Frank Bird, and that is Timur Boguslavski. That Mercedes is dropping away from the Audi, isn't it? 5.8 seconds was the margin, but Charles Weerts has already done an absolute best in the middle sector. Of course, he's on fresh tyres, but Charles Weerts is stretching the gap over Boguslavski as they come past the pits now.
Yeah, I mean, he's almost got the length of the pit straight advantage over the 88 Mercedes-Benz. So that is a comfortable and increasingly comfortable advantage. The only thing that could change it, of course, we haven't had a full course yellow intervention. We haven't yet had a safety car intervention. So those are the unknowns, the things that teams are sitting in the pit lane trying to calculate.
Now there behind Stoltz is the number 114 Lamborghini. Now that means therefore that Konsta Lapalainen has got ahead of the Rinaldi Ferrari on the pit stops. So the Emil Frey Lamborghini there gains a place as in comes the race leader. I think that was Johnny Adam, wasn't it? Peeling off to the left-hand side.
Yeah, couldn't wait much longer, 25 seconds before the pit lane closes. Outstanding effort by Garage 59. And Johnny Adam, they dominated this opening sequence into the pit lane. Now Alexander West will be ready to Johnny Adam having to make a second bite of the cherry to make his entry into the pit garage for the Garage 59 team to go to work.
Now remember, this doesn't have to be quite as frantic because it's 77 seconds from the pit in line to the pit out line. So it can be a little bit more relaxed, a bit more methodical. It's still got to be efficient, still got to be done well. You can't lose time, but you can't really make up time in the pits. Charles Weerts, by the way, first flying lap, fastest lap of the race.
He is getting more impressive every time we see him behind the wheel. Everybody defers to Dries van Voor as being the star in the 32 Audi, but I have to say that Charles Weerts is getting very close indeed to the level of performance that we're expecting and we see from Van Voor.
I would agree with that. So Charles Weerts then is now the race leader, and he's 6 seconds ahead of Timur Boguslavski. So with 24 minutes on the clock, Charles, in a sense, just has to bring it home, not make any mistakes. But what's going to happen behind him will be really interesting now, because you've got Boguslavski, then Benji Goethe. This is the next fight coming through, where Frank Bird is keeping Lucas Stoltz at bay.
Yes, and he's doing a good job, having made that error on his outlap up at turn 10. But he's regrouped and is managing now to keep Lucas Stoltz, as a more experienced driver in this world of GT3 racing, keeping him at bay. And likewise, directly behind, you've got Lapalainen in the 114 Lamborghini, and he's doing an excellent job likewise.
Lapalainen and also Heites in the Ferrari, they've dropped back a long way, because Goethe, Bird, Stoltz, those three have jumped ahead on the pit stops, and you just had a look at where 188 has fallen to now, with Alex West behind the wheel. But it's not that he has fallen, it's not that it's been a slow pit stop, it's a regulation pit stop to a time, which is not something that the overall and the Silver Cup cars must do. So here is Weerts, he's out on his own. All he's got to do, all in quotes, is not make a mistake.
I mean, he hasn't made a mistake all weekend that we have seen, and he's in that lovely part of the clear road ahead. Pick your lines, pick your brake spots, pick your lines, pick up the throttle, no pressure whatsoever. Timur Boguslavski, ironically, on the lap prior, did set purple sector in that final sector, so he hasn't given up, but the gap that was created in the opening lap with the fresh drivers behind the respective cars did benefit clearly the 32 Audi.
Now Benji Goethe third, Frank Bird fourth. Those two Audis that were in the top 10, admittedly, before the stops, but they've really arrived at the races, haven't they? Because WRT have turned them round very effectively, so they have been able to leapfrog Lapalainen and Heitis, for example. Lukas Stolz is going with Frank Bird, but Benji Goethe running in third place. That's the best we've ever seen out of him. It's going to be a big ask to hang on to that, but as long as he doesn't make a mistake, he's looking pretty good.
Well, again, the advantage he's got is he's not running sufficiently close to the rear of the 88 Mercedes to have any aero interference. All he has to think about is, again, braking points, entry point, pick up the throttle, and all the things that a racing driver does. Be consistent in all your inputs into the car.
Well, there is 159. Nikolai Sheargard going through. He's under attack from Ulysse de Pauw in the Bentley behind. They're both in the Silver Cup, so de Pauw going for overall and for a class position here as he inches up onto the back of the Aston. Christopher Hauser's Audi, a retirement as well, number 25, that didn't qualify as well as anticipated. Had a pretty good run yesterday, but that is out of the race. As you see Ulysse de Pauw go through then. We're currently on lap number 25. Charles Weerts is ahead of Timur Boguslavski by 7 seconds now, but Sheargard and de Pauw together, both of these cars, of course, pretty evenly matched because they're both really strong in a straight line.
Yes, the Bentley has a marginal advantage and has managed to run pretty close to the rear of the 159 Aston Martin through turn 15. And of course, Mad Panda, never forget Mad Panda, back at the races.
Yeah, that now, number 90 is Rick Brokers at the wheel of the Mercedes, the black and white car in the background, there it is. So that is another car within the Silver Cup. So that is going to go down to the wire, isn't it? The Silver Cup contest as the 107 Bentley powers through again. And Alex West in 188 has maintained the advantage in Pro-Am, although the car is now in 12th place overall.
The big advantage of Alexander West is that his principal competitor in the Pro-Am is down on 19th place. That's Miguel Ramos in the Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini. So Alexander West doesn't need to get too racy. He can allow those quicker cars, essentially the cars that are in a different class to his, to let them go through without compromising his position in his particular championship.
Frank Bird's Audi, we've been talking about in 4th place. That's leading the Silver Cup at the moment. So that one is very much a car to keep an eye on. See if a maiden class win could go the way of Frank Bird and Raitiero Tomita as Finlay Hutchison goes through, being chased in.
Incident between car 90 and 93, no further action. Incident between 90 and 93, no further action.
So 1993 was Compang and Froggatt earlier on in the race, so no further action into the final third. Now the last 20 minutes, as you see Nikolai Sheargard still under attack for the Bentley as they dance their way up towards turn 16 here.
Yeah, a lot of use of curbing on the exit of turn 15. They've got to be cautious on the exit of 16, those banana or sausage curbs. Wow, look at Frank Bird and Lukas Stolz when that image just suddenly burst onto the screen. You can see now Lukas Stolz thinks, I've had enough of following Frank Bird. I'm going to start giving him my headlights to see if that make him react, respond. But runs very wide on the exit of turn 8. Not close enough to dive up the inside into turn 9. Puts the Mercedes in the mirrors of the Audi, but nothing that he's able to do. But tighter line on the exit may help the Mercedes down the straight.
Yeah, bear in mind that Frank Bird was off the road 2 or 3 laps ago. He's regrouped pretty well, and he's not rolling over, is he, for Lukas Stolz? He's leading his class, he's 4th overall, and Stolz is stuck. He hasn't been able to find a way past him, so Frank Bird doing an impressive job here of maintaining 4th place. Benji Goethe likewise an impressive job 3rd, taking over from Kelvin van der Linde as Stolz there gobbles up the curb on the outside of the road. Now Frank Bird goes a little bit wide, but Stolz not able to capitalise.
No, but we've seen in a number of corners that Frank Bird is offering opportunities that haven't been able to be taken by Lukas Stolz, but runs wider on a number of the corners on the exit, and that's what's allowing Lukas Stolz to rethink what he's doing on the entry in particular to get the drive off. Can't do very much through turns 2, 3, but up to turn 4 is an opportunity, maybe into turn 8, and then all the way back down that dog leg straight.
So through they come, and not only are they tied together, they're also closing now on Goethe ahead of them. So the gap is coming down a little bit between 3rd and 4th. And for 4th, it's effectively 2 cars tied together, isn't it? Because Stolz is right there on the back of Bird. Where is the Mercedes stronger? It should have the grunt in a straight line, but they're so evenly matched that gap doesn't really come down until they get to the braking point.
Just watch happens on the exit. How wide does the Audi run? Well, more or less even Stevens for the both cars. Now up the inside, not really liable to be an opportunity. Let's get your car positioned now. Look how much tighter the Mercedes can hold into turn 10, but just the momentum keeps Frank Bird ahead, but he has to go defensive. He goes to the right-hand side of the racetrack, back to the left-hand side, responding to what Lucas Stoltz was doing. Lucas Stoltz thinks about turn 13.
That's Fontana going ahead of West, so that is for 12th place. Alex Fontana goes through, but they're in different classes, of course. That's a silver going ahead of a Pro-Am, but Alex Fontana goes by Alex West, maintaining his class lead. That's what he needs to do. Now back to the battle. Bird versus Stoltz, and the Audi has stayed ahead, and Stoltz getting a little bit more agitated on the headlights now.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can use your headlights as much as you like. I mean, Frank Bird's got his on permanently. Not that anybody at Benjamin Goethe is going to be bothered by that, but certainly having the lights flash and they pick up on your mirrors, or in some cases some of the cars carry a camera on their dash instead of a mirror because of the limited restricted view. But Lucas Stoltz clearly quicker than Frank Bird in a lap as Charles Vance comes across, well, in fact, not across the start-finish line. He's running into turn 8. And the gap he has got is a very, very comfortable 8.1 seconds over turn for Timo Boguslawski. But this is the battle of the race right now.
And Frank Bird is still hanging on to that 4th position, down to turn 8. How wide will he go on this lap, and does he present Stoltz with an opportunity? Well, they both run pretty wide. There is no way through there, but it's up to turn 10 where Stoltz again tries to get that tighter line. Tightens through the right, but he doesn't have the power, doesn't really get the acceleration out of the corner to capitalise on that. So really his best option is to try and force a mistake out of Frank Bird. As you see there, the turn 9 top speed, number 66 Audi, then Frank Bird's Audi, then the Obrescu Gunon Mercedes next up. Stoltz now getting ever more frustrated because he's been stuck there for about 5 laps.
All I could suggest is Lucas Stoltz rethinks what he's doing up at turn 9 and turn 10, because he's tried the line he's been using over the last 4 or 5 laps. It looks promising, but it's never delivered. So if it's not working, think about something else. Another opportunity will be up into turn 4, which will be, as we go on, what will be now on to lap 29. Go through turns 1, 2 and 3, and then consider making a move into turn 4, the long double apex into 5, the sweep through the left at 6, and then you're back at turn 8 again.
So there is Goethe third, but you can see how he's being caught by Bird and Stoltz. So this battle is going to get even fiercer shortly. It'll be a 3-way fight for third, not a 2-way fight for fourth, as Stoltz gobbles up the curve then here at Misano. This circuit that opened back in 1972, it had the direction change in 2006 in order to host World Motorcycle Championship events once again, and it's given great racing this weekend, and we're not done yet. Third, fourth, fifth starting to bunch up, and Goethe soon is going to be feeling the pressure.
Well, if these two cars catch on to the tail of Goethe, then it's going to be an interesting dynamic, because that will be what maybe Lucas Stoltz thinks is his best opportunity. If Frank Bird can clear Benjamin Goethe quickly and cleanly, then the experience of Lucas Stoltz, for me, has got to be the best opportunity to get that Mercedes eventually and finally past what is now the 4th place Audi of Frank Bird.
Stoltz doing 230 kilometres an hour, as you see on that race vision graphic, through Corverny, turn 11. But what he can't do is find a way past that Audi. And we know the Audis are really good round here. Last year, there were 3 races in the Sprint Cup at Misano. Witt and Zandvoort won 2 of them. They've won this weekend as well. You've got an Audi third, there's an Audi fourth. So the Audis and this circuit go together well.
Certainly do. It's a compact car, and whatever the switchback nature of these 16 turns at Misano provide, it helps the Audi more probably than any other brand we've got here this weekend. But you know, in a Mercedes you've got a race-winning car. That was proven last year by the 88. Look how close he's getting. Again, stays out left to try and make the undercut, coming through 4, but can't do it through 5. Can he get himself sufficiently close through 6? Not really this time either.
But Stoltz is running out of options. I mean, this is one of the top Mercedes GT3 drivers. Frank Bird, new to the Audi this year, learning fast, so take nothing away from him. But you would have anticipated by now Stoltz to have cracked this and got through and pulled away, but he can't do it. There's just nothing that Frank Bird is doing to give him half an opportunity even.
Now let's revisit these two turns that lead onto the straight. Change what you're doing.
So the battle rages on. Now number 33 is 7th currently, Benji Haiti's Ferrari. Patrick Couillard started the car and is with Gemma.
Well, first of all, Patrick, you're trying to confuse us. You've got the mask on so I can't see your face, and you've got Benja's overalls on.
Yeah, it was a last-minute call, but happy to be here.
Absolutely. And tell me, your stint there, you were pushing very, very hard. You looked to be very good form.
I mean, it was tough to keep threes behind, and yeah, it was tough, yeah.
And the pit stop, there was a call for an unsafe relief. What do you say?
I mean, we just need to wait and see, but there should not be any penalty, in my opinion, because, okay, it was close, but there was no contact. They could do their pit stop fine. So, yeah, we just need to wait and see.
Okay, well, do you think Benja can get any places back now?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Well, they're looking good for second in Silver Cup at the moment, but it might be if drama befalls Frank Bird up the road, and you can see that he's still having to fight really hard to keep the Mercedes at bay, that would throw a lifeline back the way of the Ferrari. It was a slower stop. They did lose places in the pits, as also did the 114 Lamborghini that is running in 6th position. But Luca Stolz is learning lessons from Frank Bird. Frank knows exactly how to defend, doesn't he?
Very important part of being a racing driver. McLaren likewise under pressure. So that's Oscar Cunha in 10th place pushing Oliver Winkelson. So that's another little team battle, or not team battle, intermark battle out to round out the top 10.
And that's Aurelien Panis going through in 11th place. So Ollie Wilkinson up into 9th, Oscar Cunha down into 10th place. Now the two of them together. So Ollie Wilkinson, McLaren factory driver in the Jota run car. The team had to miss Zandvoort for COVID-related reasons. It's good to have the McLaren back on the grid, the sole McLaren. And that is Stolz with a problem. Luca Stolz.
I think there's a right front tyre. I think it's a right front that's either punctured or maybe I don't know what it is, but the right front, and that takes massive pressure off Frank Bird. What disappointment for the number 6 Torque Sport Mercedes-Benz. Yet again, fate, if you wish to call it that, has played a hand, and that means effectively this is race as well and truly over and done with.
With 10 minutes to go then, Luca Stolz limps down the pit lane. The squad will try and put a new tyre on if it is only a punctured tyre. So what that now means is that there, Benji Goethe is 3rd, Frank Bird is 4th, and this is what happened. There was contact between the two, possibly, let's see. On the outside line was Stolz. Oh dear.
Yeah, I think Luca Stolz can feel rightly that was an aggressive move or aggressive defence by Frank Bird. The consequence was body rubbing and cuts down the right front of the number 6 Mercedes as it now exits the pit lane. That will be, I think, reviewed by race director. I'm sure he'll be on air in 2 seconds to tell us an investigation is taking place between car 6 and whatever.
Right, well...
I've done it for him.
Yeah,
I've done it for him.
Indeed, and you don't need to press the button now. So there is Charles Weerts. He's away and gone. 9.5 seconds to the good over Timo Bogowslowski. But Benji Goethe and Frank Bird heading for their best ever results, 3rd and 4th. So two young guns starting to come good in GT3 racing. Look at that. It's virtually the length of the pit straight, isn't it, now, between the top two?
Yes, I mean, in fairness to Timo Bogowslowski, he has done a good job. It was on those opening laps in this early part of the stint that he allowed the gap to extend. It was about 6 seconds when they came out of the pits. It's up to 9.4 seconds. And putting Bogowslowski against Charles Weerts, it's a bit of a no-brainer in reality, because the driver lineup of the 32 Audi is now about as stellar as you can get.
Now this battle's not done yet, is it? Frank Bird is in a very different position all of a sudden, because he doesn't have to think about defending. There's nobody behind him, and now he can push, close on Goethe. The gap 0.8 of a second at the start of this lap, 8 minutes to go.
It's a realistic opportunity, I must say. Frank Bird will be looking at the back of that Audi and thinking, I do fancy a podium. And now that I've been released from the pressure of Luca Stolz, and I don't know what Benjamin Goethe is thinking, he will be very unhappy that the Mercedes has dropped out, because the attention is now going to be exclusively on the back of that number 30 Audi.
And then behind Frank Bird is Constant Lapalainen 5th. Benji Haiti's in the background in the Ferrari 6th. 7th is Petru Umberescu, who took over from Jules Gounon. In 8th place, Ollie Wilkinson. 9th, Oscar Tunjo. And 10th, Aurélien Panis. Alexander West is 14th, still leading in Pro-Am. From 2nd in Pro-Am now, Valentin Pierberg. And down to 3rd has dropped Miguel Ramos in the Barwell, number 77 at Lamborghini. So, Audis fight for 3rd and 4th places. Goethe is ahead of Bird, but that gap's coming down, no question about it.
So Frank Bird now feeling inspired, and I don't know what he views Benjamin Goethe as a fellow Audi competitor, but, and there's always a but, 7 minutes to go, he's going to feel racy, and he's got a scent of a podium finish here this afternoon.
No question about that. So Frank Bird has been one of the standouts of this race. Goes a little bit deep maybe there through turn 4, giving Goethe a bit more breathing space. But as I say, both of them running much, much higher up the order. Yes, helped in part by their co-drivers, but they've got to maintain that pace. They've got to make sure their stints are error-free as well.
I mean, for everybody, with that bit of bodywork on the track, a little bit of a carbon fibre, whether it flicked off Goethe's car or whether it was on the racetrack, but certainly got kicked up by the number 30 Audi going into turn 8. Could have been from the 30 because there was contact with the number 6 Mercedes, and that might be the consequence of the enlarged or a little bit of the turning vanes as we go back to.
So they're going through is 27, diving up on the inside line. So Finlay Hutchison goes ahead of Alexander West. Now there is number 20, Valentin Pierberg, 2nd in Pro-Am. Alex West is currently the Pro-Am leader, so there are a fair few cars between them. The contact between the Mercedes and Audi has been noted, incidentally, by the race director. So the point of all of this now is that Alexander West's Pro-Am lead is shrinking. He's not been caught yet, and I don't think he will in 5.5 minutes, but the gap is coming down as the Aston Martin tries to maintain a buffer over this car, the charging Mercedes of Valentin Pierberg.
I mean, he can charge as much as he likes. There's one car, two, how many more? Where's the Mercedes? So there are certainly 2 cars between Alexander West, 5 minutes remaining, and probably about 5 seconds on the racetrack. 2 cars, 5 seconds, and you've got to make the pass. Unlikely, but you never know. You just never know.
Yes, anything can happen, just ask Luca Stoll. So as there, over the timing line goes the Bentley up on the inside line. So Ulysse de Pauw moving forward, and that is Valentin Pierberg. Now Pierberg's last lap was a 1:34.8. Alexander West was a 1:36.9. So it's very much in terms of pure pace advantage Mercedes. But Alexander West, I suspect, is driving within himself, just making sure he gets to the end without making any mistakes.
All he needs to do is be metronomic. Don't make sucker punches, as it were. Just keep your drive clean. There will be cars around you which are out of your category, who are quicker than you. Let them go. The team will be keeping you advised all the way through, if not by a pit board on the pit lane or by a ship-to-shore radio. So all you have to do is finish ahead of the 20 Mercedes-Benz. It doesn't matter whether it's a minute, a second, or a lap.
And if the Aston Martin 188 hangs on to win its class, it will be the first Sprint Cup win of the season for that car. Alexander West, Johnny Adam and Chris Goodwin did win Pro-Am in the Endurance Cup race at Monza right at the start of the season, but it's not a car that's been successful as yet within the Sprint Cup. Now that is Pierberg, who is still charging, he's still pushing, and as I say, his last lap over a second quicker. He's also been given a hard time by Jordan Love behind him because that Mercedes is riding shotgun.
Certainly is. Whether Pierberg is bothered by it or not, I suspect he's not. He's focused on trying to cut down that 4 and a bit second advantage. Just under 4 minutes remaining. I mean, look, anything can happen now. The Mercedes can see the Aston Martin, albeit with the Audi in between them.
So there goes Pierberg, Pro-Am, the Silver Cup Mercedes behind. They're together on the road, they're in different classes. So Pierberg doesn't want to let him go because that's an extra car between him and the Aston he's chasing. But equally, he doesn't want to have to keep defending because it's holding him up. There you can see how the gap's been coming down.
I mean, they're coming down 2 seconds and a bit more. On that third lap 33, it came down by just under a second. Some of it is maybe the interaction with traffic on the. But here we go, Benjamin Goethe now what, 2.25 minutes, 3/4 minutes to go. Frank Bird right on the tail of the sister WRT Audi. And, oh dear me, Benjamin Goethe, stay cool, my friend. You've done a good job all the way through your driving stint.
Another battle here is Finlay Hutchison going through in Audi number 27. Rick Broker's on the back of him. And what else is going on in Pro-Am as the Aston Martin goes through? So Alexander West is being caught hand over fist now by Pierberg because Fabien Laverne has gone ahead of the Aston Martin. So it's another place lost. There is the Aston. 2 more minutes are on the clock, so Pierberg is a-coming, no question about it. And after all that hard effort by Johnny Adam, is that class lead going to evaporate right at the very end?
Well, will it be the finish of this lap and 1 more lap to go? It's going to be very close. It might be 2 laps to go when they come across the line. So you can see clearly that Pierberg has, he's done an excellent job taking those 2+ seconds every lap out of Alexander West. And now it is a realistic opportunity that the 20 Mercedes is not only going to catch the Aston Martin, but it's going to put it under a severe threat and pressure because literally by the corner, the time is ebbing away.
So it is 1.4 seconds between them. The race leader is about to start his last lap because Charles Wirtz is in the last sector. So this fight has got 1 more lap at the end of this. Leader has just gone by then. So we're on the last lap for the leader. But these cars have got to start the last lap yet, so they've got all of this and 1 more. So Pierberg has a lap and a half effectively in which to challenge. So these 2 grunty front engine cars coming now out of turn 10, but it's nail-biting stuff at garage 59, isn't it?
It's nail-biting time. You've got to hope that Alexander West remains calm. He knows he's seen the gap closing in the last couple of laps. It's just literally evaporated. So now coming through these final, these turns, 1 more lap to go. Oh dear me, Alexander West, this is going to be the drive of your life here today if you can keep Pierberg behind you, because having caught you or run you down, he has yet to catch you, but more crucially, to find a way around. And you can make your Aston Martin on this final lap of the race as wide as you need to do to consolidate your lead in the Pro-Am category.
So they go over the timing line. It was 1.4 seconds. It is now half a second with a lap to go. So Alexander has got to make that car as wide as possible up front. Charles Wirtz leading. There he is. He's 2/3 of the way round his last lap. Such is the size of his advantage. Timur Boguslavski chases him for 2nd place. So Charles Wirtz, an absolutely faultless stint, having been teed up perfectly by Dries Van Thor. They're going to do the double. They're going to have more Sprint Cup wins as a partnership than any other in the history of the championship. The checkered flag is waved, and it's a win for Dries Van Thor and Charles Wirtz. They make it 2 out of 2 at Misano. As here comes Pierberg. He has a look on the inside into turn 8. He makes the move. Doesn't quite do it there. Alexander West was just able to hang on as Boguslavski takes 2nd place. But now look, the queue is forming behind the Aston Martin. Half a lap to go.
Yes, and Pierberg got a little bit squirrely on the brakes into turn 9. I thought actually the Mercedes had just barged their way through. I think there was maybe a little bit of lack of commitment, conviction on the part of Pierberg, maybe rightly so as well. I don't know how much space there was left between the racetrack and the side of the Aston Martin, but that was an opportunity. The Bentley now squeezing up behind as well, because the pace of these 4 cars is being dictated to by the Aston Martin. Alexander West surely has done enough to win the Pro-Am category, but wow, how close is it in this final lap?
It is going to be tense, isn't it? That Bentley was 108. Nelson Panciatici getting ahead of Jordan Love for 20th place overall. As up to the line, it's going to be a drag race to the flag. Here comes Pierberg. They're going to be side by side across the line, and it looks like the Mercedes might just have got its nose in front. We wait for the timing screen to update. Alexander West ahead by 1,000th of a second. 1,000th of a second the margin. Johnny Adam runs across the pit lane to find out who got the place, but Alexander West has been given it by 1,000th of a second. That's as close to a dead heat as you're going to get.
Well, I tell you what, that was tight. You can't get any closer than that. And, you know, I would have to have a look and see, review that, because 1,000th of a second could go either way. Wow. I thought, as you did, David, that Mercedes had just done it, but clearly timing and scoring is that little bit further towards the exit of turn 16 than we could see it. But what a drive by these two. Race 2 won by the drivers who dominated race 1. What a partnership, what a pairing.
They just get stronger and stronger. I mean, they are a great partnership. They are relatively, not season error-free, but rarely do mistakes come. And both of them are still developing. They've not peaked yet, have they?
I hate to think what they're going to be like when they do peak, because they're just doing, I mean, both drivers did absolutely wheel-perfect stints behind the wheel. And Charles Weerts, who's the one that, you know, they were joking in the pit lane that it's all because of what Dries has been. Now, look at this again. I swore the Mercedes had gained the advantage, but I mean, it could have been the difference between the splitter length on the front of both cars that crossed the beam one before the other.
A thousandth of a second, that's all. Fantastic. Another shout for Frank Bird as the winning silver, and Benji Goethe for taking third place. So there are lots of good results out of all of this. Johnny Adam can celebrate a class win on his first ever visit to Misano. Dries van Thor and Charles Weerts, that's win number 3 of the season. Yesterday we talked about them being the first double winners. Now they're the first treble winners of the championship. Out gets a very happy, very tall Charles Weerts, and he and little Dries embrace. But they are becoming very much the top partnership right now, certainly amongst the Audi ranks.
Well, you can say it's the long and the short of it. They've just got control. I know it's an old one, but sometimes the old ones have got their merit.
This is very true. So Charles Weerts, great second stint. A lot of the hard work was done by Dries van Thor, but you know, Charles still had to make sure that that stint was error-free. Timur Boguslavski and Raffaele Marciello finishing in second place, which is still a decent result from 5th on the grid.
I think they'll be fairly satisfied, because once the pit stops had been run through, we've seen what WRT Audi can do. They went back out effectively in the lead, and Timur Boguslavski did what he could do. He did a very good stint, didn't make an error. He brought the car home. Again, the time difference isn't a matter, 1 second or 10 seconds. Still right. Second place.
Let's hear from our winners with Gemma.
Dries, Charles, fantastic result. Congratulations to both of you. The double win this weekend, incredible.
Yeah, I mean, that's really, yeah, I really know what to say. I mean, the car's been outstanding the whole weekend. The team did again an amazing job. Again, quickest in the pit stop. I mean, the guys really, they practice every day, and it's really nice to see that it's paying off. Sorry. Yeah, and Charles did an amazing job. The car was nice, so perfect weekend for us.
And you guys have now won more races together, beating any other pairing.
Well, yeah, great to know. But yeah, I mean, it's a great weekend for the whole team. Happy for the sister car too. The car was amazing to drive, and the goal was to make a maximum points, and that's what we did. So really happy about that one. Congratulations,
a fantastic result to both of you. Well done.
Their winning margin 11 seconds. Life a lot easier than it was in Pro-Am. But Charles Weerts and Dries van Thor in the WRT Audi extending that championship advantage. And the next stop, of course, for the GT World Challenge Europe is going to be the Total Energies 24 Hours of Spa. Very different race altogether, but Audi traditionally strong there as well. And an excellent drive by the silver winners, Raichiro Tomita and Frank Bird. 4th overall. Let's hear from them next with Gemma.
Boys, a class win for you guys, a fantastic result. Frank, you're looking very, very hot still, but pushing so hard there. And the battle, of course, between yourself and Luca was incredible.
Yeah, it's a little bit hot for an Englishman here, but yeah, really tough race. I had to keep the pressure off the Mercedes behind. So yeah, the team did a mega job on strategy, and the car was really good today. So thanks to them, and also to Rear for a great weekend.
Absolutely, and of course, just a quick word from you from your first stint there at the start of the race.
Yes, it was so tough race, but yesterday we had some issue, but then at the final we get the podium, and it's really happy. That's
Congratulations, well done, so much. Great class win.
So first Silver Cup win for the partnership of Frank Bird and Raichiro Tomita. Raichiro was an outright race winner for WRT last year, but this year taking Silver Cup wins, and Frank Bird really developing very strongly. Benefiting, I think, from having all that experience of WRT around him, and he did such a great job to hang on to that place against Luca Stolz. Let's just see now where we stand in terms of the provisional result, because just to confirm how they came across the line: Charles Weerts, Dries van Thor victorious from Timur Boguslavski and Raffaele Marciello. 3rd, Benji Goethe and Kelvin van der Linde, ahead of Frank Bird and Raichiro Tomita. Then 5th, Konsta Lapalainen and Jack Aitken. 6th, Benji Highties and Patrick Kuila. Further down, Oscar Tunho and Juuso Pohaka 9th and 3rd of the silvers, and keep going down, and you get to Pro-Am with that incredibly close finish. Alexander West and Johnny Adam, the category winners, just ahead of Valentin Pierberg and Dominic Baumann, with Enrique Chavez and Miguel Ramos taking 3rd, but the Aston Martin 18th overall. And there's confirmation of it again, just a thousandth of a second between Alex West and Valentin Pierberg at flagfall. So Misano has delivered up 2 very interesting races, and certainly plenty to discuss post-race, with 1 or 2 incidents still being reviewed. Now, we've got to go to the Pro-Am battle, haven't we? Alex West and Johnny Adam, a thousandth of a second, Gemma. That was all they won by.
Alex, first of all, coming to you by 1,000th of a second. Have you even recovered from that yet?
No, I mean, Valentin and I, we raced it, but each other very respectfully. So, and I made a mistake in the last corner, so I could see him coming up on the side and getting closer and closer. And that's how we're at the actual finishing line. So, but I mean, Johnny did a fantastic job to give us the lead that I needed. So it was fantastic.
Absolutely, an incredible performance, and stood with the team at the end of that race there. You know, the hair sticking up on the arm and the nerves were really, really evident.
Yeah, it was a drag race to the end, you know, across the finish line. I've never seen a finish like that in a long time, so so happy for the team and Alex, you know, to get a first sprint win this weekend's been superb, and what a race, really good, you know, really good for
Really well deserved, well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Not a bad Misano debut for Johnny Adam, but an excellent stint he did to lead up to the pit stops, and Alexander West trying to consolidate it. Another lap, it would have been a different story, so that timing line was just in the right place for him. But great to see the first Sprint Cup win for Garage 59. And this was it again. Look how close. A virtual dead heat across the line. They don't come much closer than that at the end of an hour of racing. So there is the winning Audi. The SRO officials putting that under Parc Fermé conditions in the flat cap. Vincent Voss, the team principal at WRT, celebrates yet another victory for the squad. And of course, not only an overall, but a Silver Cup win as well. Let's look back at the highlights of that last hour of action, being led away by Johnny Adam down towards turn 1, the Aston Martin being chased by the Ferrari of Patrick Kuila, but a good getaway by Dries Van Thor, putting him up on the inside, battling with Conso Lapalainen, Jack Aitken's Lamborghini, Jack at the wheel of it as they turned their way out of turn 3 for the first time. Raffaele Marciello was trying to find clear track space as well, being squeezed up towards the curb, but the Mercedes eventually through on the inside line. He then got himself in a battle with Jack Aitken, couldn't find a way around on the outside, and in turn was being delayed so that the Audi of Van Thor was getting away up the road. Dries eventually got himself onto the back of the Patrick Kuila Ferrari. Further back there was drama. Konstantin Terashenko into the back of Dennis Marshall's Audi, turned him around, and that effectively was both cars out of the race. And this mega dive by Dries Van Thor gave him track position, but he ran wide. That put Kuila back ahead. On the pit stops, number 14 lost ground as it staggered away. Eventually the engine caught, the car blasted back onto the circuit, but the Bogoslawski Marciello Mercedes was still hunting its way into contention. It will be second after the pit stops, but as they accelerated back onto the circuit, so the gap widening between the top 2. Frank Bird had a trip through the gravel, but maintained the Silver Cup lead despite the attentions of Lukas Stoltz. Into the pits came Johnny Adam to hand over to Alex West, and then side by side Bird and Stoltz ran. It was a great battle, but then it became just a little bit too close, and that incident punctured the tyre on the white Mercedes. It's being looked at by race control. Attention then turned to Pro-Am. Alex West's advantage was shrinking as Valentin Pierberg's Mercedes got closer and closer and closer as to the checkered flag and win number 3 of the season came. Charles Weerts and Dries Van Thor, as here Valentin Pierberg made his move on the inside line down at turn 8, but it didn't pay off. He had one last chance up to the line. They were level, but a thousandth of a second the margin that gave the class win to Alex West and Johnny Adam, and an outright win to Charles Weerts and Dries Van Thor. So we have the podium underway, and the winners of the pit stop challenge celebrating another big bar bill. So for WRT, slick pit work wins the day once more, and the mechanics that do these ultra fast tyre changes benefiting from the generosity in the pit stop challenge. Then we move to the podiums for the overall, the silver and the Pro-Am elements of the race. And the drivers being called forward. So for third overall, the best drive we've ever seen, no question, from Benji Goethe. Kelvin van der Linde set him up nicely for that, but Benji Goethe will be very, very pleased, and that will have done his confidence a mega boost, because he's been in the walls a little bit. He was certainly thrown in at the deep end when he first came onto the scene as a teenager in the Porsche in the wet at Monza, but there with the help of WRT, of Kelvin van der Linde, that's a first ever GT3 podium for Benji Goethe. For second place with his bandaged hand, Timo Boguslavski and Raffaele Marciello for ACA ASP step forward. But then for the top step of the podium, it's going to be win number 3 of the season, win number 2 of the weekend, no less, for the Audi drivers, Dries van Thor and Charles Weerts. Fist bumps all round, and Charles and there Dries clamber onto the podium to celebrate the win. WRT represented on the podium as well. Doesn't come much better than 2 out of 2 outright for Charles Weerts and Dries van Thor. So the drivers then will in a moment step forward for photographs, and the teams have a little time now to catch their breath before they are back in action for a completely different type of race, the Total Energies 24 Hours of Spa. But it's tempting almost now to suggest, John, we're running out of superlatives for the weekend of Dries van Thor and Charles Weerts. They've just been completely dominant.
They just were superb all through the weekend, both in qualifying and in both races. And you got a really, really complementary partnership. You have both young drivers, Dries van Thor the more experienced, but Charles Weerts coming along very, very quickly indeed. And you put in their car for Spa, well, obviously they're going to be favourites for that victory too.
Well, they've extended the lead in the championship. Dries van Thor and Charles Weerts now well clear of Raffaele Marciello and Timo Boguslavski. Ricardo Feller is third, ahead of Alex Fontana, and then Maro Engel and Luca Stolz. Albert Costa, sixth, ahead of Pierre-Alexandre Jean and Ulysse de Pauw, with Frank Bird and Raichiro Tomita now just half a point ahead of Norbert Siedler, and then Consta Lappalainen. So the Total Energies 24 Hours of Spa comes at the end of this month, and it's going to be another fascinating race that you can enjoy all of. So there, the Silver Cup drivers step forward, Justo Pohaka and Oscar Tunho for their third place onto the podium. Joined for second, we will have the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari drivers, Patrick Kuyla and Benji Heites, that started on the front row of the grid after Patrick's qualifying heroics. And the Chilean driver, Benji Heites, there with his flag. And the Finn, Patrick Kuyla, steps up to the podium. And then for a class win, their first of the season, Raichiro Tomita and Frank Bird in the WRT Audi. The Japanese-British partnership steps forward to a great reception, and certainly Frank Bird, another of the standouts in that race.
Yes, and I think Frank Bird, he had an object lesson, and driving on a tight racetrack, he said it was really hot. I struggled with the heat, but he kept his concentration and ultimately got the accolade that he deserved.
So a great effort by Frank Bird and Raichiro Tomita to take the Silver Cup win, and as I say, the next stop for the Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe powered by AWS is going to be the Endurance Cup at the end of the month, the Total Energies 24 Hours of Spa. We'll see you for that. For now, from Gemma Scott, John Watson and David Addison at Misano, it's goodbye. And we've got one more podium to go at Misano, and it's for the Pro-Ams, who will step forward in a moment. And although it's the last podium, it's the closest of the battles, isn't it? Like just thousandth of a second margin at the very end of the race. Let's just quickly look at the Silver Cup points in sprint. Alex Fontana clear from Ricardo Feller. They have spent the first event of the year in different cars. That's why they don't have the same tally. Pierre-Alexandre Jean and Ulysse de Pauw next, ahead of Frank Bird and Raichiro Tomita, with Jim Pla and Konstantin Teroshenko not scoring today. They are ahead of Oscar Tunho and Yuso Pohaka, with Benja Haitis, Ezekiel Paris Compac and Rick Brokers next, ahead of then Patrick Couyela and Arthur Rougier. So we've had quite a bit of shuffling in the silvers from who's been driving what. But there you have the Pro-Ams making their way up onto the podium. There's the third-placed combination of Enrique Chavez and Miguel Ramos for Barwell Motorsports. Second is going to go the way of Valentin Pierberg and Dominic Baumann. So near and yet so far. A thousandth of a second. That's all they missed out by. Those Valentin, Dominic Baumann behind him. And the class winners then, pole position for Johnny Adam and a class win for Johnny and Alex West as they will step forward. Garage 59 taking a first Sprint Cup victory of the season. And a job very, very well done by the Swede and the Scot for the team in which Alex is a major investor with Andrew Kokodi and Chris Goodwin. Garage 59 wins in Pro-Am. Johnny Adam and Alex West, the drivers. So well done to Alex West and Johnny Adam, our Pro-Am winners. Great racing all weekend at Misano. There's even more of it to come at Spa at the end of the month. We'll see you there.